Welcome, everybody, again to episode 32. We're recording this time. I'm Jeff. That's Paul. That's Steve. He's our new guest of the week. Hopefully, he'll be a returning guest. Um, Again, I don't have much with an intro. We can go right back to where we got cut off, bitching about the MCU. Um, so I was talking about X-Men. I liked the first bunch of X-Men, right? The the one with Magneto and the Pawns Go First and Iceman, and you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
The first original trilogy. Okay,
Yeah, with Ian whatever, not
yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
those were good,
Brian
except for
Singer.
except for some of the Jean Grey Cyclops shit. And then I didn't like New Class, but I started to come around to it after watching it again. But as a kid, like Paul knows, I was a big Apocalypse guy. That was like my villain. And then when they brought Apocalypse into the movie, I was just like, this guy sucks. I didn't like the way
it
he
was
talked.
good in concept.
I didn't like anything about it. I was really upset. Disappointed. Disappointed is a better word.
What did you say, Steve? I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, that one that it was good in concept. I don't think they pulled it off exactly right though, on the apocalypse one. I mean, it sounds good in principle, but yeah, there was something artistically missing from it.
Yeah, it was the character. I didn't like. Then it just ruined the whole movie for me.
But I
But I
did
also
like the prequels with Fassbender, like all the ones with Fassbender playing Magneto and all that. Those I kind of did like. But
yeah, I like that. I like the some of the story for it.
Yeah, I would agree. X-Men First Class, I think, is good. The one after that, Days of Future Past, is probably my favorite X-Men movie. And
that
then,
was a good one.
yeah, unfortunately, when the Age of Apocalypse or whatever, they kind of dropped the ball on that.
When they start time traveling and shit, I start to get fucking over it.
Oh Jesus, that one, yeah. No, that one was interesting, but yeah, it just seems like they kind of run out of stuff to do after a while, and they're trying to jam everybody in to just get one, just to try and pack as many in as they can before they change everything on everyone, change all the characters and everything.
One of
You know,
the
like
one of the storylines that none of the Marvel people picked up was there's a whole comic series line of Professor X's kid going back in time and killing Professor X, right? And then Magneto, he starts the X Men and X Force and X Factor, and all the characters are mixed up in different, and they're in different groups, and some guys are villains and some villains are good guys. But Magneto,
Professor X's kid.
Professor X has a kid, and he goes back in time and kills Professor X, which before Professor X creates the X Men. So the
Okay,
story of being that Magneto becomes Professor X hypothetically and or technically, and he forms the X Men and X Force and X Factor.
Interesting. I didn't know that. They
Oh,
uh
I
yeah, I
bought.
had no idea.
Oh, I bought. There was four different comic series that were doing it. It was X Men, X Force, X Factor, and another one that I can't remember. But I bought the first five of each series, and I bought three copies, two to save and one to read of each of them.
hmm.
And now I have no idea where they are. Hopefully, they're in my mom's attic. The rest of my comics, which my mom swears she hasn't thrown out, but I haven't been able to find them in a while.
It's funny, you kind of forget that you can just refer back to a comic book and look up the story and see what happens next. I was kind of good about not looking any of that up when they came up with the movies first. Trying not to jump ahead and see what happened next. And then I got a roommate that would go ahead and tell me everything anyway. But now you forget that they're all part of a big long story that's already been written.
Yeah, assuming they stay true to it. I think that's so like the second Black Panther movie. If you guys haven't seen it, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't much care for it.
Yeah,
But when I
uh,
was first watching it, one of the big things for me is they try to make Namor, the Submariner, the villain in the movie. Um, he's also referred to as Kukulkan. But again, if you know the comics, what's that?
Who's the actor?
Oh, I forget the guy's name. I think it's a Mexican dude or like a Central
Uh,
American guy. It's accurate though because I
I don't
think
remember. I remember the first one because I liked the first one.
yeah. Well, it's not the casting. Like the guy plays a good part, but for me, I already know that Namor's a hero. So like the whole first like 3/4 of that movie, they're trying to pitch him as the villain, and like I had already known, so it kind of ruined it for me. But I guess if you went into it like not knowing anything, then like yeah, maybe the twist at the end was good for you.
I remember that. I've seen every single one of them up until I used to have them all memorized, the whole story, everything in order, right up until Endgame. That one was, I don't know, man. Am I the only one that cried at the end of Infinity Wars?
I think I teared up a couple times during Endgame and potentially in Infinity War too. They're really good.
I
I
liked.
think
I didn't watch a bunch. I didn't watch any of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
First one's
I
good.
I pretty much missed all of the Thors. I might have seen one.
yeah,
I didn't watch the Loki movie.
you weren't missing much with the
Uh,
Thor ones.
I've seen the Iron Mans. I've seen the Avengers. I like the Spider Mans. The first one.
Spider-Man's were good.
I like the Homecoming. Right? This is the first one.
Yeah, Homecoming with
Yes.
Yeah, I was a
Michael
big
Keaton.
fan. I like Civil War. I thought Civil War was a good episode or a good movie.
Civil War was a good one.
Mhm.
Yep.
I haven't seen a single Deadpool. I know.
Oh, I've seen all the Deadpools. Those are funny. The Guardians of the Galaxy were funny too. Those ones cracked me
Yeah, I
up.
see clips and stuff, and
Chris Pratt's funny, man.
yeah, I like Chris
Like-
Pratt a lot. And I like Fat Thor. Fat Thor cracks me up.
That was funny.
Who?
Fat Thor.
In Endgame when he's all
Yeah,
when he has
yeah,
like
yeah.
anxiety and depression and he's all overweight. Yeah,
I
that was
like it
kind of
Because he
funny.
lost his eye. Yeah, I remember that.
I can't do this. I can't do this. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have come. Oh, bad idea.
Come here.
No. I think I'm having a panic attack.
Come here.
Yeah,
Right here.
this is bad.
I like how they did that because like somebody who suffers from like anxiety and depression, it's not funny. But to see Thor, like this godly dude, suffer from it, just for some reason, it is kind of funny.
The way he speaks openly about it and with like his cadence and like the exact terminology, it's great. He's like, I'm suffering from anxiety.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's still getting under Chris Pratt's skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. The MCU's had a lot of hits, a lot of misses, and everything else in between. But if this is all we get, and the MCU crashes and burns from here on, I'm just really happy that we got what we got.
Sure.
Well, you know, what's his name? Hawkeye? Is that his name?
Yeah.
With the bow and the arrow. You know, he's done, right? Like as an actor, he had an accident or something.
He did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget his name, but he's Jeremy something, right?
Yeah, because I watch Mayor of Kingstown.
Okay.
Reiner.
Yeah, there you go. Jeremy Reiner. Yeah,
Oh.
he's the what was it that happened to him? Do you know?
Can't remember.
Something happened that destroyed his back, and like he's just out of the game for good. Yeah, so I mean, everything's got to come to an end at some point, you know. And it did. It went out pretty good. I think Infinity Wars was probably, if not the best, it was definitely one of the best ones that they had. So if you're gonna go out somehow, you know. I wasn't that impressed with Endgame. It was just too much shit going on. And I'm not a big fan of Captain Marvel, which is like God mode, you know.
Yeah.
I did like the first Doctor Strange movie. I like that one.
Oh, yeah, that one's
That
good.
was good. That was a good one.
I like that one. If you can buy the whole magic bit and all of the the multiverse and alternate realities, yeah, that movie's awesome.
It wasn't
That
that
was.
bad in that version of it because it was like the beginning of the bringing the multiverse into the series before it got ridiculously complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't mind.
Well,
There's
if you-
nobody left though from the original ones, is there? Like in the new after Endgame came out, like
Thor
there
and Hulk.
really is no. Oh, there we go. Hulk. Okay, all right. Thor, Hulk, and then what's his name? Falcon.
Oh, and Falcon too.
Who's
Yeah,
now
I mean,
the-
if you want to do like the extended cast of the Avengers, then yeah, there's a bunch of them. But if we're just
And
doing
now
like
he
the
goes-
main cast that's in the first Avengers movie, yeah, most of them are dead.
It's just those two, and he goes by Captain America now.
Yeah, I guess. Apparently, that's a
Yeah.
story arc in the comic book, and that's I guess what Disney decided to go with is to make Falcon the next Captain America.
I'm not such a big fan of stuff after Disney gets its hands on it.
I'd
Yeah.
have to agree.
I did. Did you? You guys saw the new Star Wars? Well, not the new one, but the last 3 episodes of Star Wars.
The
The one
yeah,
with-
the movies.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
With Adam Driver.
Yeah,
With
Yeah.
Ray.
Yeah.
yeah.
I I'm dying to know exactly, and I feel like George Lucas really did his fans a disservice. I feel like he really just sold everybody out by not writing the last three out for everybody, so we could see exactly what. So we could just. I feel like there was a break in continuity with it. You could feel like the story abruptly changed, like right before, you know, basically for the last three episodes of it. I would love to see where it would have gone if it was his mind that was rolling, his mind that made him. You know.
I hated the last one, the Last Jedi, or whatever that what was it called?
Oh, The Last
Yeah,
Jedi is the worst Star
I
Wars
think that
movie
was it.
ever. That's the 8th one. The
Yeah.
episode 9 is The Rise of Skywalker, and it sucks.
Okay, yeah, both
But
those suck.
there's some good parts in it, but yeah, overall that movie sucks too. It's better than The Last Jedi though. The Last Jedi was trash.
Skywalker sucked in those three. I didn't like Mark Hamill. I didn't like Skywalker at all.
No,
Yeah. Mark Hamill
No,
didn't
I-
like Luke Skywalker in those movies. He complained about it on set.
Mark Hamill's a bitch.
He
yeah, I was
is,
just gonna
but he
say, I'm
was
not a
right
big
about
fan of
that.
Mark Hamill either.
What was that?
But
Steve?
I like Rogue One. That was cool. I
What
like
is it?
Rogue
Oh
One.
yeah, Rogue One was good, and then there was another one too, right? With Han Solo, right?
Han Solo. I thought that was good. That
That's
got a lot of
alright.
hate.
That was hysterical.
Yeah, it's all right.
I didn't. Don't. I watched most of the Mandalorian. I didn't finish it.
First two seasons are good.
See,
What
I
else?
can't.
What else
They
had a
said- They said Mandalorian was the woke one, right? It's like they're supposed to.
Well,
be
they
woke
fired
Star Wars.
No, that's the Acolyte.
The
No,
Acolyte.
different. They Mandalorian got rid of Gina Cardano, whatever her name was, because they canceled her because she said,
Ah,
and then now she came back.
She's suing them.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's over though.
Oh, I don't know.
She did come back, huh?
Not to that role. They just canceled their character out.
It was the Mandalorian, and there's another one that was decent.
Well, there's
Yeah,
the
see, I
Book of
stopped
Boba
watching.
Fett.
Obi-Wan was all right.
Oh, I hated it.
Maybe it's not.
I don't.
I'm thinking of something else that came out along with.
I don't think I saw it. I saw Rogue One. I saw all nine. I saw Rogue One, and then I saw the Han Solo one, and that was pretty much the end of it. Actually, the Rogue One and the Han Solo one were still better than the last three. I think.
I
I'm
agree.
really unhappy with how that story ended, man. Like, I really feel. I feel
You and
let
everybody
down.
else. Nobody liked it.
Right, man? Like, I feel really let down. I feel like George Lucas completely sold everybody out. I feel like he had an obligation after getting that big of a fan base together and getting everybody so into it. I feel like he had an obligation to go ahead and at least finish writing it himself rather
Well,
than go ahead and passing it off to Disney, who could.
Well, Steve,
Ooh,
I just want to clarify real quick. George Lucas sold the IP to Disney, so he actually had nothing to do with those three films. I don't know how much of his books they actually used to make them,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if any at all.
it was what's her
Yeah.
face. She got let go or is retiring or
So
South Park.
George Lucas is just upset about Star Wars as everybody else, because
Yeah, that's
he
what
didn't
I'm
have any
saying. I feel-
control.
He should have stuck around. I feel like he should have stuck around. I feel like he shouldn't have sold it. He shouldn't have lost control. If when he got us into the first six like that, I feel like he owed it to us to kind of stick around and write the last three as well.
you take the $10 billion or whatever he got for it.
Yeah, I suppose
mean, what-
there's that.
Honestly, what's the point of writing it if he's like, I got to deal with Disney and then have them tear apart my script because it's not what they like? How about you give me $1 billion, you write the thing, and then I'll criticize it later?
That's what
Yeah.
happened.
That shit's wrong. I just saw something in the news today. Who's the head of Disney? The chick who put a girl in it. And make it,
Oh,
Kathleen
I
Kennedy.
forget her name.
yes, she's on her way out. Either she's out or on her way out.
She's on her way out of Star Wars, but she's still employed with Disney, so she's going to ruin
I-
other IPs.
What I'm saying, Paul, is I think she's out of Disney. In
Oh,
general.
good. They should have fired that bitch like 10 years ago.
Well, I mean, she's been on the shit list since since they started falling apart, which was towards the end of the election campaign, right?
Well, I
When
just
they
feel like
ended up-
everything she's involved in, she ruins. Like,
Yeah,
alienates the fan base, pisses everybody
Yep.
off that actually cares about the franchise, and
Right,
just
because it's her job to stick the agenda in.
and just appeals
Yeah.
to a very small group of people.
Is there a problem, people?
No problem at all, Mrs. Kennedy.
We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay! Yes, Miss Kennedy, some of the execs are just expressing that maybe...
Well, that maybe we should go a different route than we did with Indiana Jones.
Fuck Indiana Jones! Put a chicken in it and make her name it gay!
Sure, yeah. Well, let's try that.
So speaking of robots, there's I don't know if it's a meme or like a YouTube thing or a Instagram reel or TikTok that was going around. Did you see the My Blue Heaven Goodfellas thing?
No.
All right. Well, I knew most of it anyway, but you know that My Blue Heaven and Goodfellas are the same movie, basically, right?
I never saw My Blue Heaven.
Oh, really?
Stop it.
This guy sucks.
Shit. I'm thinking about it right now. I'm going back to, huh.
Well, you've never seen My Blue Heaven, dude?
No, I'm fucking
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, man.
Long
Steve,
time ago.
it's arugula. It's a vegetable.
Okay, I'll add it to the list.
You could
Apparently, I'm
melt
missing out.
all this stuff.
So Goodfellas is the book was is Wise Guy, written by Lewis. I probably have it back here, or maybe not back here.
It's based on Henry Hill in real life.
Henry Hill, but
Yeah.
Lewis, the book's called Wise Guy, and Louis Pagagino, whatever his name is, he wrote Wise Guy, which got turned into Goodfellas. Now, Henry Hill's wife, Karen, she had something to do with like a book or a script, and it's a lot softer and comedic, and that's My Blue Heaven.
Mm.
My Blue Heaven is a comedy, and it's Steve Martin plays Henry, and he's in the witness protection program, and his handler is
Rick Moranis, right?
That's already good.
So it's
Yeah.
Steve Martin being a flashy suit Italian doing all this shit. And he's like, I'm with you. I'm working with the FBI. I'm with you. It's funny, dude. It's a good one. And like who's the ladies? Joan Cusack.
Joan Cusack, that's it.
Yeah, she's in
That's
it.
it.
It's funny. You'd like it.
When I had to use a fake address, whenever I was just filling in an address for paperwork or whatever for the mortgage business, it's always been 123 Happy Street. Every time I've had to put in an address, 123 Happy Street. You remember him saying that?
Yeah, because
That's
he's like, what's your social security number? And he's like 1492. Just keeps getting numbers.
I think he goes in sequence with it, actually.
Yeah.
Or no. You're right. He just keeps on rattling off numbers. Yeah.
The combination is 1,
1,
2,
2, 2,
3,
3, 3,
4,
4, 4,
5.
5. So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's funny because you guys mentioned Rick Moranis, and I was literally just watching Spaceballs just 2 or 3 days ago.
I told you I watched that with my dad a couple weeks ago for his first time. I'd never seen it.
Yeah, it's still hilarious. The
Well,
part
they
with
were
the
together, too.
combination. Go ahead,
They
Steve.
did it in
I
what
like
was it, a Little Shop of Horrors. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that was Rick
With,
Moranis.
Yeah.
Yep. And Steve Martin was in it for a little bit too, right?
He's the
He was the
boyfriend.
dentist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a good musical number in there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The whole movie's a musical.
Yeah, he does. That's right.
Steve Martin has a song.
Oh, he has a song. Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie since I was a little kid.
Me neither,
Seymour!
man. It's been a long time.
All right, I got a couple things to get into, but I want to do my other stuff before. 'Cause everything else is going to kind of roll into one. All right, Paul, did you know that when the Tampa Bay Lightning was first in expansion, the silent partner was the Japanese mob?
The Yakuza? No
Yeah.
kidding.
No.
I didn't know that.
So, like the two brothers who started the franchise, right? Because back in the 90s, whenever the NHL was like, we're going to expand 6 teams in 6 years, whatever the deal was, I forget. So the guys who won the bid or were bidding for Tampa Bay were these two brothers, and they were the brains, but they needed the money. So I forget how the story goes, but they ended up in connection with a lawyer who represented finances in Japan. And no one really bothered to verify where the money was coming from, but it turns out that it was the Japanese mob who sold it eventually when people started asking questions. But originally it was the Japanese mob.
That's interesting.
Yeah, when money's coming in, people generally tend not to ask too many questions when they need it real bad in the beginning.
Plus, I'm not sure that the NHL or any other sports organization really cares where the money came from, as long as you have it.
They
Yeah,
did because there could have been other financial people who wanted to get in. You know what I mean? It's not like they were fighting to get a franchise off the ground. You know what I mean? Their investors were there for the NHL franchise.
Oh, that's true.
But these guys got their money and their bid to be so high or whatever.
well, the muscle helps too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think it was quite that kind of thing. It was kind of like, here's the money, here's the guys, and then everybody else ran through the lawyer. You know, because he was doing the business on part of Mr. Yamamoto or whoever it might have been on the other side of the pond there.
The Nagasaki Corporation.
Yeah, that's where I was going, but I flipped to Yamamoto. So Steve, you watched the podcast I told you about today, right? With Julian Dory.
I did. I watched most of it.
So he met. We can get into that if you want, Paul. It's the same dude, John, the CIA spy that I sent you, the whistleblower that you said you already followed.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I
John,
I feel like I missed a really good one. The one before that they kept on referencing,
Well,
right?
Here's what he did. I did watch that one. They referenced it, right? So the guy he did the interview with 2 interviews before the recent one with John Kerouac, whatever his name is. Paul, look it up. I sent you on a text message. Can you get his name for me?
Text message?
Yeah, just look the guy's name up, and then you can pronounce it correctly for me. So Julian Dory is a podcast host. He's been around for a minute. He likes to interview ex tier 1 operators, Delta SEALs. He does ex CIA guys, government people, theorists, mathematicians, all types of interesting shit like that. So the one we were watching today, they kept referencing this guy, Matt Henderson or Hendrickson. And this guy was an actual knock. Do you know what a knock is in the CIA, Paul or Steve?
Knock. Hang on. I do, and I can't remember what it is right now.
The best way to describe it is it's a guy
Undercover.
Yeah,
It's a fake identity, right?
You're not just undercover. You're like off the books. You're like
That's
it's
it.
possible deniability. If you get caught, you're not part of the CIA. You don't traditionally go through the CIA training. You don't do all the State Department bullshit. Your cover is like a real job, and then on the side you're on the side you work for the CIA and do this other shit. Yeah, so this guy is a big time whistleblower for the CIA. But then the guy they're mentioning today, the knock, he got involved with a motorcycle gang, and then eventually got involved with the cartels. And during the interview, he obviously can't say a lot of, he can talk about things, but he can't talk about certain things.
Yeah.
And they got into this conversation about have you ever come across and you're a CIA money laundering criminal. That's what he does. He laundered money through one of the top 4 big clubs, either the Hells Angels, the Banditos, the Mongols. He doesn't say which one, but one of the 4. And then he also laundered money for the cartels. So during the interview, he's like, have you ever been put in a situation where you're like, your mind flips back to like, I'm the good guy. I can't let this terrible shit be happening in front of me. And he's like, yeah, but in that world, sometimes there's nothing you can do, even if you wanted to. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, I guess you can't talk about it. And he's like, I'll tell you about it. He's like, you might bleep it out later, but they didn't bleep it out. So this dude goes out drinking with the cartel, with his buddies in the cartel. And they decide it's time to test him to see how he's going to respond to something. So they're like, oh, we're going to go back to this after party. But they go back to a warehouse that the cartel owns. And this guy's like, this is going to be a test. This is not a fucking party. And they bring him into a room where somebody else has made a mistake and they're making he's being punished for his error. So he's going to see the enforcement of cartel discipline. And he's like, but they weren't hurting the guy. They were punishing his kid for his mistake.
Oh.
And he's like, you probably can't tell me what they were doing. And he's like, I can tell you. And he's like, they were using a carrot peeler on the kid's face.
Oh my
Fucking wild, right?
Jesus Christ, man.
I know, it hit me crazy too to think about it the first time. I was like, I gotta tell the guys on the show later.
And there's nothing you can do about it. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I mean, what do you care?
They were testing him. Like, how are you going to handle seeing this?
Yeah.
They weren't like you have to participate, but it was almost like, it's a test of loyalty. It's one of those, are you a cop? You got to tell us.
Well, that and stomach,
Well, yeah.
Chicken.
But I mean, at the same time, if you're a money man and it's not your job to do that shit, but you have to, this is the world you're involved in. And if you can't handle it, how can we really trust you? It was not they were asking him to inflict the punishment. They were just like, this is the world you've stepped into. And the game is the game, and you better be ready to play it.
It's a tall order for the money man. That's going to sit there and watch that shit.
The whole thing was like, he's like, the second I walked in there, everyone just watched to see what I would do.
He's the show.
Yeah, he was just kind of like, just had to like sit there and like wait till it was over, or they excused him. But so the reason I watched that is because I was watching the other interview with that guy you just brought up before, Paul, Jack, and
John,
right? Is it John or Jack or
John?
John, sorry, the guy who just came up.
Yeah, this guy. Oh,
yeah.
no.
So during his interview, they got into the JFK files, which were supposedly going to come out soon enough.
Should have been out already.
Right.
I was just going to say, I think I saw something and I didn't watch on it. It's actually sitting on my playlist. I think I saw something, and you never know what's clickbait and what isn't, but it looked pretty legit on YouTube where they said that they actually reviewed, supposed to be like a 2-hour special where they actually reviewed the stuff from the file.
Well, whenever Trump said, I want the files out, right? And that was the day it started. They have 30 days to let the JFK files out and 60 days to do RFK and MLK.
Yeah.
What he's saying is that this isn't in 1992. A similar thing happened about all the JFK stuff coming out, and that's when they started whispering about it's national intelligence, so it can't come out. But he's under the assumption that of what is going to come out because of how much is really left.
That's what I'm saying.
How much was really written down? How much was really recorded? How much is really there? So he was assuming, this is just him saying it, but he's in a better position to guess than I am, that what we'll most likely see is a lot of the stuff that's already come out with less black marks on it, so less redaction.
But
And
there was
hold on, and some stuff like that. But what we're looking for, the smoking gun, we will 99% sure that we will not find out from this.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like there was something that he saw because he was supposed to release it last time that he was the president. And there was something that he saw that made him hold back, that he's like, yeah, I don't think that we should go ahead and release it yet. And then this time he was like, oh, to hell with it, I'm going to release it. So there should be, in theory, there should be something in there that raises a huge red flag that we see, that sticks out like, oh shit, that's what he was talking about. That's what he was saying. He wasn't sure if everybody could see it yet.
He's saying that if whatever that the smoking gun that we're looking for, that the world is looking for, isn't going to come out in these, if we even have the proof of what they're looking for.
It's destroyed,
Did you guys?
I'm sure.
Think about it. It's not like we have there's a fucking box in the bottom of the archives that has JFK marked on it, and we're just waiting for someone to come open it and take out the one file that we haven't seen. You know what I mean?
Just feel like this is the truth. This is the actual. Not whatever it is. We're never really gonna know. We'll know a little bit more. I think you're right. We'll never actually know.
It'll probably lead to a couple of other things, and if you're a JFK guy, those things would have they would ring a bell. The two other investigations that kind of spin off of it.
Did you guys see this?
What's
this
that
is from like last week.
Last week, this guy was talking. This thing was recorded on like Thursday.
So the FBI discovered, according to this, it says the FBI suddenly discovered 2,400 JFK assassination records, documents that were never turned over to the review board.
Okay,
This went viral last week. And it's even on like Fox News and stuff.
Okay, well, where are they?
Good question. But what you're saying, according to what John was saying, is that oh, it's probably just going to be some of the stuff that we've already seen with just some less black marks, and
Huh.
this says otherwise.
You could have
Maybe I don't know.
You could have 2,600 pages of the same thing repeated over and over again. Just because they found 2,600 pages that they didn't see before doesn't mean it's not duplicates or just fluff that's flown into a file.
That's fair. This one says 14,000 pages.
What we think is going to come out. This motherfucker is ex-CIA, highest level security clearance. Been in the game for over 40 years.
I'm not arguing with him. That's cool.
So if this dude's like, it's probably not going to happen. What's more likely that will happen is all the questions that of RFK and MLK that don't make any sense, or those questions that haven't been answered, because that hasn't been dug into as much as this one.
Yeah. Well, they're all sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, supposedly. If I saw an interview with her, I don't know if it was a day or two old or whatever, but she said the JFK file, because what did she say that was interesting? The Epstein, she said the Epstein list, she said that's sitting on my desk along with the JFK file and the MLK file. I don't remember if she said RFK or not, but she said that those are on her desk with the Epstein list. And she said she was, I guess, reviewing that to see if she could release it.
Well, we're waiting.
So yeah, that happened. I think it was last Friday, because I saw that as well, where Pam came out and said that they're on her desk waiting, awaiting review. Review what? Like
That's
Trump
what I was
is
saying.
this is part of Trump's campaign promise, to declassify and release this stuff. He's already declassified the JFK files. So if you have the shit, just fucking release it. Why is it sitting on your desk?
Why is there a 30-day clock on it? Well,
Why is there a 30-day clock? But if she already has it, then why are we waiting for the clock? Just release the shit.
We're going to find out in 3 days why it didn't come out, motherfucker, obviously. If it was, it's not like they declassify the file and just drop it to the fucking universe.
So
you know what I mean?
Should be.
Your boy Schellenberger, talking about I'm going to pull this up right now, talking about the Epstein list. Schellenberger came out and said he has an FBI whistleblower that says they are actively deleting stuff from the Epstein files right now as we speak. So if Pam is sitting around reviewing it on her fucking just fucking release it. Please. Pretty fucking please, with some sugar on top.
She's the Attorney General, so she has what they call the Epstein file, right? But again, if the FBI or other assets are deleting this, and this from other places, I'm guessing they're not going on her desk and taking pages out. You know what I mean? So there must be multiple sources of different sorts of information. You know what I mean? It's not like we're all going to be dipping out of the same well.
That's fair.
I'm sure there's stuff that's already been destroyed, stuff that never even made it into that file. I mean, that's such prime blackmail material. I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty of stuff that didn't even make it in there that'll never even get to her desk to give her a chance to edit it out, or that people need to get rid of right now. I mean, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. I mean, and let's be honest too, it's not the FBI that has necessarily all of this stuff. Who knows where a lot of these videos wound up? Are there copies of them? And if so, who has them? You know, I'm sure the FBI is not the only organization that has access to some of this.
Or
but
if not a lot of it.
The CIA's got a file, Mossad's probably got a file. MI6 probably has a file, whatever the French military version of their secret service is, they have a file. The Russians got one.
Sure.
Is that Epstein was an international criminal criminal kingpin asset of American and Israeli intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've got people that make it sound like that. I mean, like, all right, if he was like the one source, he was like the Pablo Escobar of underage ass. I mean, if anybody was rich, they had money, and they wanted to do whatever with little kids, they can go ahead and just call Epstein. He was like the go-to guy for it. And then you got people like Eric Weinstein that makes it sound like that. I mean, his idea of it is that that Epstein would hook people up with younger women, not illegal, but younger women. And he himself was the one that had the problem with underage kids, so that he wasn't like wholesale, selling children off or whatever. but I think it's someplace in between. Did you guys see Kevin Spacey when Kevin Spacey getting interviewed by man with this bullshit crocodile tears? Who was it? Piers Morgan, I think it was.
Oh, after he got not too long ago, right? Like a month or two ago, when he came back.
Yeah,
Rated.
yeah, pretty recent. When he's talking about how he was on the plane, he's talking about how he was on Epstein's plane with Bill Clinton
and Chris Rock, with Chris Tucker.
Was I don't remember that. He might have. I just remembered the Bill Clinton part, but yeah, there were.
I was upset when I heard Chris Tucker.
Was it really, man? That slipped right past me.
If he didn't say Chris Rock, I'm pretty sure he said Chris Tucker.
Huh. And he said something else. He incriminated himself on there because he said something like, I didn't even notice. What did he say? He said, I didn't even notice. This is what I think it was. I didn't even notice that they had underage girls on the plane. And then he said that when he saw Maxwell, he said he was upset because they would do something as brazen as put Bill Clinton on a plane with underage girls. Right after he said that he didn't even know there were underage girls on the plane. And he said he's a fucking creepy one, man.
Yeah.
You know what?
A Hollywood
did, right?
What's that, Steve?
You know what he did, right? Kevin Spacey?
The Hollywood friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I heard he was grooming kids, males or young boys on set, and
the only one I remember is Anthony Rapp, the actor.
Yeah, there's been a lot of guys throughout Hollywood that have been accused of doing things like this. I think we talked about Charlie Sheen and Corey Feldman and Corey Haim and all that, a while back, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
You guys talking about the Kevin Spacey thing reminded me of Larry Johnson. You remember Larry Johnson? He used to be the running back for the Chiefs. I think it was Larry Johnson.
Yeah. He came. He said some shit the other day too.
He was at a Diddy party. This interview is probably like a month old, and he was at a Diddy party with Beyonce. And he said, like, right around the 11, 12 o'clock hour, he said that all of a sudden, like, these little kids started showing up everywhere, and he thought it was odd. And then, like, two of them were sitting next to him and Beyonce on the couch, and Beyonce said some weird shit like, isn't this sexy or something like that. And Larry said that he was just confused.
Oh, yeah, I feel horrible for Justin Bieber now. You look back at the... If you look back at what, like, when Bieber first started getting to be famous, the interviews, or I don't even think they were interviews. Yeah, kind of interviews, I guess, with I guess MTV putting the microphone in P. Diddy's face, and he's got Justin Bieber, 14 years old, sitting next to him. And I guess they asked Bieber what he was doing, and Diddy said something like, "Oh, we don't talk about that, but it's a grown-up stuff. It's grown-up stuff, right?"
Grown-up stuff with a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, like his mother gave him the P. Diddy for a whole weekend, and God only knows what the hell was going on in there. But then you see interactions of them. I forget what I was watching. I forget what program it was. But when you look at him interacting with P. Diddy today, it looks like textbook. Somebody that was like a victim being confronted by an abuser. Just like his body language, he cowers down. He jumps when he touches him. Like it's weird. It's really weird shit.
Yeah.
My favorite random Puffy video is when he's on Arsenio with Tyson, and he touches Tyson's leg, and Tyson's like, "Yes, that's very nice." And
yeah, it's really wild to see some of these, knowing what some of us know now, to go back and watch some of these old videos. We see them, or at least I do. I see them entirely differently now, and it's really disturbing and sad. Not just Bieber, but like Aaron Carter and stuff too. Like, what happened to him?
Yeah, Aaron Carter is dead now. But
yeah, like a lot of these young actors and singers and stuff that that died really young. A lot of them due to suicide. Now a lot of it starts to make sense.
Right.
Or accidental suicides as they have become dependent on drugs and alcohol.
Sure.
Yeah. What's creepy too is you got like a lot of them will go ahead and, well, of course they go ahead and they open up organizations or charities for kids. Like Ashton Kutcher had something with Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore had some sort of a charity for kids that were, I think it was for kids that were abused or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Ashton Kutcher ended up having to just disassociate himself from it because you remember that guy, the other one that they were on that 70s show with, Steve, I think his name was?
Yeah, the guy that just went to jail for being convicted?
For life. Like he's 30 years for some sort of extremely violent rape.
Mhm.
And Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis wrote letters to the judge on his behalf, and the public did not react well to that at all. And it ended up like Ashton Kutcher had to remove himself from that whole charity that he was doing with Demi Moore because of it. But it was a little kids charity, and I think Mila Kunis and him, are they getting a divorce, or she threw him out or something?
Did you see their apology video?
No.
Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher did an apology video after sending that letter to the judge, and it's like the most ridiculous apology ever. Like, they don't look sincere at all. Like, yeah. If anything, it actually hurt their image even more. And yeah, it's just. Speaking of foundations, the Clinton Foundation.
Hold on, Danny Masterson is
That's him.
Danny Masterson, that's it.
And if you look into Danny Masterson, he's from a very interesting family.
Really?
Yeah, his siblings are Christopher Madison. He was from Malcolm in the Middle. Jordan Masterson, who's he was in the 40-Year-Old Virgin. He was on Last Man Standing. And then Alana Masterson she's I don't know if you guys watch The Walking Dead, but she's one of the main characters on The Walking Dead.
For the first season or two.
Angus T. Jones is the 2.5 Men kid, and that's part of his family.
Oh shit.
and his family is okay. He was Scientology, which is why
shit.
Kutcher and Mila Kunis were all in his thing. And during the filming of that 70s show, the cast, like Topher Grace, didn't hang out with Ashton Kutcher, Danny Masterson, or Vilma Wade. What's the Spanish guy?
Vilmer something.
Yeah, him. So the three of them and Mila Kunis would go out and go on Hollywood and do dirt and be Hollywood and shit. And Topher Grace and the other girl, I forget her name, were like, nah, man,
Laura Prepon.
we're not in. The tall redhead girl.
Laura Prepon or something.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Like, you know how Ashton used to run Punk'd, that show on MTV?
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember if it was a Punk'd episode or if there was another thing where they were actually punking him. But they catch him in this restaurant. You can still find the clips if you look it up now, where he's talking about like this 14-year-old girl, and what he says is disturbing, to say the least. And Wilmer Valderrama or whatever, also in some shady ass shit. So you can see the pattern here. It's pedos hang out with like-minded people, also other pedos.
Well, it's things we didn't think about at the time, but go back through their list of girlfriends. Vladimir, whatever Villamore, was dating Lindsay Lohan when she was like 16. And
that's right.
That Demi Lovato chick, whatever her name is, she was underage dating all these guys. Jay-Z and Beyonce and Dame Dash and Jay-Z and all those guys. And
R. Kelly married Aaliyah when she was like, what, 15 or something in Mexico? And he was like 30. Yeah.
And
they got a clip of somebody asking, was it Jay-Z and Beyonce on the stage together? And whoever it was holding the microphone asked me, like, so how did you two meet? And they put the mic in their face, and like Jay-Z just locks up and freezes, and Beyonce just starts stuttering a little bit and shoots something out. But I guess they met when she was a kid, right? Way underage.
I'm sure.
Yeah, probably the formation of Destiny's Child. She's probably locked on their radar for a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, like Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Like he's always got like 18 and 19-year-old girlfriends and stuff, Like did you meet them when they were 18, 19 or what?
As far as I can remember, I don't remember seeing a 30-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio with a 14-year-old Amanda Bynes, for example. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Yeah.
But he might be 55 and like an 18-year-old girls and 20-year-olds now.
I don't have a problem with any of this as if it's legal. I could give two shits if you're 80 years old and you date an 18-year-old. That's completely legal. I have no issue with that, right?
Yeah.
But when some people do things like this, I do have to kind of question it. Like, okay, you guys started dating when she was 18 or he was 18 or whatever it is. how long were you guys talking prior to that? You know? Oh, well, we were
How long
talking for like 2
before-
years. So you were grooming a 16-year-old and didn't start dating her until you were 18. Is that what you're saying?
Do you remember there was a couple of years ago, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I forget if it was the prime minister or the president of Italy, but they made a huge big news story out of it because he got some girl like a $40,000 necklace for her 18th birthday.
There you go. It just speaks for
Like,
itself. You know? Oh, it was
yeah.
just a gift. It was a nice gesture.
Love at first sight. You know, we met at the party.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was all over the press. Like,
Yeah. And unfortunately, these people are protected, you know, at least to some degree. Like if you fuck up bad, like, you know, Danny Masterson did, yeah, they'll throw you to the wolves, you know. But a lot of these
Yeah.
other ones are extremely protected.
No.
And the more money that you make, the more value that you have, the more they protect you. Who's they?
or the more comical it is, man. Rob Lowe, it's like a joke with him. It's like a funny thing that he bangs underage girls. Like they break his balls about it comically. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Like they do it on, yeah, they do it on his roast. They'll make jokes about him because I think he got busted with I forget if it was 15 or 16 or something like that. But it's like Rob Lowe is far from ostracized over it. It's something that they make jokes about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
there's
even go ahead.
there's the interview that Paul, and I talked about before with Tarantino when he was on Howard years ago.
Yeah.
And Tarantino's talking about there being at a party or whatever, and he's like, you know, the 14-year-old party, you know, Hollywood party girls, and Robin's like, whoa.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, Robin, she's like 14. Chill. What do you mean 14? What do you mean that's okay?
I mean, you just start hearing it, right, from all these different sources, from all these different career fields. It's not just actors, it's not just the musicians, it's the athletes, you know, and the politicians and all of these other.
Yep.
So again, who is running this, and why are these people still walking around? You know, why
And
are they not? If
what's
that
the
was
difference?
if that was any of us three, we would be in a jail cell right now. Why are they still
Yeah.
walking around?
What's the difference between when Rob Lowe does it and it's funny and they make jokes about it, or when Roman Polanski does it and it's just something quirky, or fucking Woody
Yeah.
Allen? Is that? Yeah, Woody Allen marries his adopted kid, and you know when Kevin Spacey does it, or when you know Epstein does it, or it's like what makes it funny, and what makes it okay? You know?
Yeah.
Oh, that's I believe George Carlin said it best.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Did you guys ever see the interview with Bob Saget, or the roast of Bob Saget? They do the
I
same
did.
shit, and this is worse because this time they're talking about him being inappropriate with the Olsen twins when they were still like children, like children, like toddler
Shit.
children, like when they were
Yeah,
doing
they were
Full
young.
House.
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Well, you remember Howard Stern doing a countdown to their 18th birthday, right?
Bring that up, yeah.
That's I mean, you know, that's
It was
different. Like
comical in a way, yeah.
that's fine. Like if a girl's like 17, she's about to turn 18 in 2 months or whatever, and you say something like that's one thing. But
And it's Howard Stern.
That was like 2 years though.
what's that?
You know who turned out to be a
The countdown, the Howard Stern countdown for the Olsen twins. I
It's
don't
2
think it was
years. Again, I mean, you can say that jokingly, but if you're at a party with the Olsen twins and they're underage, that's fucked up. I'm meaning like an adult
Yeah.
party.
Do you know who had a wonderful, fantastic downward spiral was fucking Andy Dick. Do you guys?
Oh, Andy Dick, yeah.
Oof, my God, man, he ended up slipping really, really hard. There was, man, he was on somebody. He ended up losing everything he had, sleeping on some creepy kid's couch who turned him into a podcast. Basically, just set up a camera and wouldn't let him leave the house, and kept on feeding him weed and booze and shit, and him getting accused of touching, like, boy, it was just like he had a really fantastic downfall, that one. But he was doing really creepy shit to people. But it was alcohol.
Yeah.
He would-
And he also, forget what podcast it was on, who the interview was, but it was Andy Dick who brought a couple who helped. Help's the wrong word. He screwed up some people's sobriety, and then those people took a downward fall. And I'm pretty sure he's the one who fucked up Chris Farley. Chris Farley was clean for a minute.
Farley and what's his name, man? The one from Talk Radio that was on Talk Radio with Phil Hartman.
Hartman.
Yep, Phil Hartman's wife.
Yeah, we probably saw the same interview.
I mean, at some point, you just have to kind of ask yourself, like, why does Hollywood and music and all this have so many pedos in there? You know, and why are they so protected even after these stories come out? They're almost kind of like, you know, there might be like a scandal and then it just gets brushed under the rug and we never hear about it again. You know,
Probably because
why?
of the partying. I think it might just be the party crowd. Whenever you hear about parties, you hear about shit like that. Maybe.
Well, we used to party all the time, you know, like I partied with
we-
your brother a lot. You know who wasn't at our parties? Minors.
Kids. Yeah.
When you got to sell your soul to get into that game. You want to be rich and famous, and you want, you know, that's.
Well,
I mean, I'm not supporting it or anything like that, but like,
No.
It is what it is until it gets fixed. You know what I mean? So they've been turning a blind eye to it a hell of a lot longer than we've been paying attention to it. I mean, we're talking about like Lucy. Who's the little fucking the little girl, the little dancing girl from back in the day? Not Annie.
In a movie or like in real life?
The famous little dancing girl, and she
What's she in?
Not Little Orphan Annie, but not
talking about like Judy Garland.
Nah, man.
Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple.
Yeah, like they tried to go after her and her mom in the same day, 2 different rooms, and they laughed about it later because the girls were already on point for that.
Yeah, we played that video on a couple episodes back. That is Shirley Temple, by the way, isn't it? Who plays Little Orphan Annie?
Maybe.
I think.
And then we talked about, like I said, so we got to the Godfather of one thing, and I've had them all over the world.
Yeah.
Want to tell you something, my Mick friend?
Well, I think, you know.
Oh shit, that's right.
I think the people who run this show, you know, this is just my theory. They like to hire pedos because they're easier to compromise. You actually don't have to do anything.
Right.
All you have to do is just put them in a normal environment and they're going to do what they are going to do. You know, so it's not even like you have to push a CIA guy in a room to watch this and observe him and see how he responds. Like, you already know how these people are going to respond. You just give them some drugs, give them some alcohol, put them in a situation and just let them, you know, dig their own blackmail, so to speak. So I don't know. That's just my theory, but I think that's why we see a lot of these pedos over and over and over again in these positions of power and celebrity status because they're very easy to control.
And I think with the money ends up giving them a means to do these things that normal people wouldn't have the ability to do. I mean, like normally you could find somebody, I don't know, I guess any normal person that had, any relatively normal person that had tendencies like that, I mean, wouldn't have the means to go ahead and go out and, I don't know, go out and buy kids or go to parties 24 hours a day or whatever the hell it is and put themselves in a position to do stuff like that. And you've got people that just kind of wipe their ass with money and they're, you know, just opportunity. I guess it brings out the worst in people.
If you're a predator, where are you going to go for the easiest prey? I can get a job as a child talent coordinator or a child talent agent, or I can go work on the set of Nickelodeon or whatever the fuck.
Or a priest or Disney or
find
Jared from Subway.
And find the environment that allows sharks to swim with the minnows.
Yeah. That's gotta always raise a flag when you see people around kids, and like the ones that are constantly doing kids charities and shit like that. It always kind of raises a flag in my head. You know?
It does for me now. It didn't used to, and now, yeah, for sure. But yeah, Jeff is absolutely correct. If you are one of these people who has these tendencies, you're probably going to pick a profession or a career field that will put you close to children, you know, especially back in the day. I mean, now, you know, we have the internet, we have technology. It might be a little harder to get away. You'll have to find a better private area. But, you know, back in the day, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, I mean, at that point, like, video cameras were barely even a thing in the 80s and 90s. Like, maybe some people had them, but not a lot. So even if somebody caught you in the act, it's my word versus your word, you know? So, and I think if you're a celebrity, and people already know who you are, they're going to tend to believe your word over the other person.
Yeah,
And that's what
the whole why would I lie? Why do I need to lie? I'm rich and famous and powerful. I'm handsome. Women
Right.
throw
I could have
themselves.
all the women I want. Why would I do that? You know.
Exactly.
well, they were saying that, and I really haven't thought about it or looked very much into it, but I had heard, I was watching the special, and I can't tell you which one it was, but they were bringing up Pee Wee Herman, and you remember Principal Rooney, Ed Rooney from
Rooney,
Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, they got both of them with child pornography, but it wasn't the way that they were explaining it is it was artistic. It wasn't pornographic in nature. It was artistic in nature, and it was from the 1910 or 1920 or something like that. Like it was old antique type of stuff. And what they got into was that like the whole pedophilia thing wasn't demonized the way it is right now before like 1950 or something like that, which I, when you look at it, like Canada, the legal age of consent up until I think it was 20 years ago or something was fucking 12 years old. You've got the NAMBLA headquartered up in Ontario or whatever that is. I
Yeah,
think it's Ontario. So I mean, there's definitely something that indicates that it wasn't quite the same. It wasn't frowned on exactly the same way that it is right now years ago. But
it also wasn't as forefront as it is now.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it was
yeah,
the controlling of the narrative, the controlling of the information, the ability to hide things in general.
and the availability of the pornography and shit. Yeah, you're right.
And then for the longest time, the connections, like it's not until now, or the last, let's call it 5 to 6 years, that independent media coming out of a source other than our fucking television sets is affecting the mindset of people. And when the same 6 companies own every single news channel in the country, it's pretty easy to control what gets out of what gets released to the world, especially when it comes to like criminal stories or any, I mean, there's only so much time of stories you can break in the news in a half.
When it comes to anything, man, like over the last couple of years, I started like, I mean, like I've got to wonder, since now we have access to all this information and we can see a number of different sides to any story and actually make up our minds for ourselves. Like I think back 20 years ago, 25 years ago even, to what that conflict in Ukraine would have looked like back then through only the eyes of the politicians that were trying to sell it to us.
Mhm.
Like what would we have actually known about that? What would that have looked like to us back then? And then it kind of makes me wonder what was happening with all these stories back then that we only got one very opinionated side to, that was told to us as just a story, that was told to us just because it was the way that somebody wanted us to perceive it. We were just handed a story and left, and that was it. That was our entire interpretation of it. When you look back at all, just all the different stuff that we scooped right up and ate, never even questioned, and we probably still don't even question today. That uh, God only knows what it would have actually looked like if we did have access to that information.
Absolutely. Me and Jeff actually discuss this quite often on this channel about how the legacy media tends to have an agenda, and they've been pushing it for decades. Since we've all been on this planet, they've been pushing it.
If you can control the past, you can dictate the present.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they keep a lot of information under wraps from us and have been for quite a long time about a great many things and many topics. Um, and fortunately, I think you mentioned in the last 5 or so years, they're losing control of that. They're losing control of the narrative. You have all these independent journalists, independent, media, YouTube channels, all this stuff, all springing up, and we're having a much different discussion about a lot of this stuff now.
Yeah.
One of the people that gets talked about a lot lately is Musk. And remember, Musk was a fucking darling of the left. They loved that motherfucker for the longest time.
They loved Trump too back in the day.
We'll get to him in a minute. But I could I know about Musk because when I was still not paying attention and I was a hardcore Republican, I remember not liking Musk or assuming I didn't like Musk because I
Yeah,
liked
same.
him and I'm like, he's a fucking moron. He's a tree hugging, wants to
Yep.
go to Mars and build electric cars, and he just happens to be a rich philanthropist, but he's an idiot leftist. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what he was. And then the dude buys Twitter and opens up the Twitter files, and then all of a sudden he's public enemy number one, and everyone forgets that it used to love the guy. Well,
Well,
it's just the. Let me gotta close the door. Hold on, but that's just left wing hypocrisy.
Well, I think what made him snap supposedly was his kid going trans. And he felt that the woke media, the woke politicians, just woke civilization kind of infected his kid and took it away from him. And I mean, when he talks about it now, he still complains about the kid. He's like, when they say dead naming, it's because that person's really dead and blah blah. Like it's a really sensitive subject for him, and they said that's what started turning him from the left to the right, or making that change in his mind before he ended up actually snapping and doing it and buying the Twitter file and buying Twitter and all that jazz. Thank God he did that though, man.
Because if he didn't do it, and then Talebi and Schellenberger wouldn't have been able to get access to the Twitter files, and they wouldn't have been able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Obama administration, and all of them used the DOD, the Department of Justice, all the other 30-letter agencies to literally control the flow of information, determine what is true and what is not true, and what got out and how what got out, how it was said, and what narrative was sent. And the great thing is, all this shit is out. Motherfuckers still don't care. They still don't believe it.
No, they don't. Well, you know why they don't believe it? Because the right is saying it. That's why. If they weren't hearing it from Donald Trump or they weren't hearing it from us, they would go ahead and agree with it. They would jump all over it. Or if we said the opposite, they would do it. It's grotesque that like no matter what's happening, and it takes away because I really don't support every idea that Donald Trump has. What the hell did he come out with that I heard tonight that I was like, you got to be shitting me? But I don't support every idea that he has, and it would be nice if somebody on the left, if the left wasn't constantly crying about every single thing that he does just because he does it, because then when he does something serious that I think really does warrant attention, everybody's just got them tuned out completely. They're like, "Dude, you wanted to outlaw tuna fish because Donald Trump likes tuna fish. You wanted to fucking everything he does, everything he does, they just jump up and object to. What did he say today?
Why is it hard?
The gold card. Did you hear about the gold card?
No.
Oh, the Donald Trump gold card. It's a green card that you can buy for $5 million. I heard about this maybe 2 hours before I started talking with you guys, but it's a path to citizenship that for $5 million you could just go ahead and have it, and that's it.
Well, does it $5 million just skip you to the front of the line? Because that's
yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Well, then at the same time, if you're willing to pay more to skip line, how is that different than buying the speed ticket through the airport? You pay an extra $50 and you get to go right through and skip all the fucking TSA.
Yeah, but should you be able to jump to the front of the line just because you have $5 million and I don't?
And that's going to be the argument that the left keeps on coming out with. That's
There's
what
a
they're
point.
going to say. Not
There's a
that it's
point
wrong,
there.
but that's
Is
that's
that
exactly,
right?
It depends on who's running the operation. If it's, you know what I mean, like if there's a way for an independent organization that doesn't take taxpayer money and is able to facilitate the ability of coming to citizenship for a price, then I don't see why you wouldn't be able to be allowed to do that.
So,
and as long as you're not doing it at the expense of people that are seeking asylum, I guess, and stuff like that.
Because if you it's like saying that. If the normal channel is to get in line and you have to wait in line, and then someone pays to skip you, that is not fair. But if there's a separate organization, separate from the one that you are doing, that allows you to hire independent lawyers and independent facilitators that can push your shit through faster, I don't see a problem with that. as long as it's not hindering the ones who don't have the ability to do so.
At the end of the day, though, that's just a matter of how you structure it.
Exactly.
You know?
So what you're saying is immigration, is all immigration going to be run strictly by the government, one size fits all, and that's the only system? Or are we going to allow private organizations to facilitate the same thing?
And his reason for doing it is, I mean, it's noble. If you look at it, I mean, we are we're done if we don't go ahead and clean up a lot of this mess, a lot of that credit card mess, a lot of the money that we're bleeding right now. Like we're not going to make it. So he's doing whatever he has to do in order to get money in here, you know. And if that's part of what it is, then
is nothing compared to the yearly budget that America spends, or anything compared to our real debt. So if he's saying that I'm helping pay off the debt or whatever for $5 million, that's fucking bullshit. And there's nothing honorable about it. But if he's allowing an entrepreneur to set up a company that's completely run separate from American taxpayer dollars.
Yep, and that's part of it too.
The only thing that was good about that is if one guy could figure out, hey, I can charge $5 million. That means there's money in the game. So that means some other entrepreneur can be like, I can do the same thing for 4.5. And the next guy's like, I can do it for 3. Next thing you know, you have a whole independent entity of businesses that are running more efficiently than the government ever would and getting people in the same exact way.
No, this would be this I think was $5 million. It was directly to the government, but I thought you were saying that what it does is it somehow it gives them some sort of a tax benefit where they don't have to pay double taxes. They don't have to pay taxes through their own country too if they do it like this or whatever it is. But yeah, it's to attract business over here and to attract wealthy people. And
if someone can afford $5 million to come to America, there's no way that guy was about to hop a fence to get into America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a different type of person. If you're trying to offer citizenship, if you're trying to sell citizenship for someone to come over here and invest here, that's just pulling somebody out. That's pulling money out of a different country, bringing it here. As long as, hypothetically, the guy's on the up and up. I'm not trying to bring in John, the Europe's version of John Gotti because he's got $5 million.
Yeah.
But some guy who's leaving England because England's all fucked up, he doesn't recognize his country anymore, and I don't want to wait in line to get into America. Well, here's independent business. If you cut them a $5 million check, or there's a law that says if you invest $10 million, you can be facilitated quicker.
I think England might be past the point of no return.
Oh, England's fucked.
Like that, they've let entirely too many people in there, entirely too many people, entirely too fast, to the point where they're saying they've got democratically elected people in certain areas of England right now that are electing to put what's that law called? It's not Sharia law. It's
Sharia law.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
I saw that.
They're actually.
I feel like that's no.
So
even if they had the votes, it's just because Sharia laws. It's not like you can't jaywalk or you can't spin. I mean, this is like women have to do this. Goes against all types of individual rights. That England, you get in trouble for posting on Facebook, but still,
it changes the entire culture. I mean, what do you think about when you think of England? It changes the whole culture. Like it almost like if this happens, like hang on, just real quick. If this happens, right? Let's just say hypothetically speaking, Sharia law gets put into effect in England. In 30 years, what the fuck is England? Your whole perception, anybody that's born today that's 30 years old in 30 years is going to have a completely different perception of what English culture is than we do, right? Like it will literally destroy English culture if you allow things like that to happen. I'm not anti-immigration. I have no problem with immigrants coming in, in reasonable numbers. Obviously, this is England, so it has nothing to do with the U.S., but you could see like how something like that could completely change a culture and essentially destroy it. And that's really sad. I think of tea and crumpets and, things like that when I think of England and Big Ben and
Monty Python.
and Monty Python. That shit's all gone. All of it's gone. And then, you're going to have, and again, this isn't bad. I think Pakistani and Indian culture and all of that is beautiful too. In Pakistan and India, not in fucking England.
Yeah.
That's
it was one of those. I forget if it was, oh man, Sweden or Switzerland. I get them confused all the time, but one of them.
Never Switzerland. If it has anything to do with sociology or culture, they'll never use Switzerland as an example. Nobody cares. You're probably talking about Sweden.
It was one of them did something with where they let too many immigrants in too fast, is what they were saying, and they ran into problems with riots and everything. Kind of like what England's having right now, and they nipped it in the bud. They realized what was happening. They said we let too many people in from one specific culture so fast that they didn't have a chance to acclimate to our culture. They brought their own in, and since they never had to acclimate, you had two different cultures clashing with each other instead of just bringing them in slowly and having everybody get on the same program. You know,
Jeff, we talked about that recently. Remember,
Yeah.
if you have 10 people that live in one culture or one country, and you bring 5 people from a whole different country, a whole different culture, and put them in there, now you have 15 people total, but 5 of them are not going to assimilate to the other 10. They're going to bring their culture, their values, their beliefs, their religion, everything else, their habits, their behaviors, all of that with them. And
because they're not incentivized to, because they don't have to.
right, and it's not a race thing, right? Like if we did the same shit, if you just take like 50 million Americans and you put them in fucking Pakistan or Brazil or Germany or wherever, are we going to assimilate to German culture? Fuck no, we're not. We're gonna be like, yo, hot dogs and hamburgers, bitches. You know, this is our area of town. You know, you guys go back to your side. So yeah, it ultimately destroys culture when you allow too much immigration in too short a period of time.
and that's what it is. It's not culture. I'm sorry, it's not race. It is culture.
It's culture.
And there's nothing wrong with changing culture because different cultures, blend and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But it's a strategic decision at the state level. State as in the state, not as in New Jersey. It's a strategic decision at the state level to allow these people in to purposely fuck with your culture. Because it'll cause division and it'll cause blah blah blah, which means that people are going to ask for more government to come and solve their problems. Again, giving more power to them, because at the end of the day, the state is a separate entity and will always act in its own self-interest. And its number one self-interest is to stay in power. It's not to keep our taxes low or to wage war or to do whatever. Its number one job is to stay in control. That's the first thing they care about. It's like breathing.
With England over there, they did it. We did it over here with the Hispanic community. The thing is, the Hispanic community is conservative in nature. They're not really all that much different. I mean, they have an entirely different, a different culture, but the same values basically as most of America did. Over in England, what the problem is that it was Muslim culture. It's an entirely different culture, so they stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, the Hispanics.
We're not talking about Protestants here. At the end of the day, they hate each other, but still, it's all about Jesus. These guys
we do have a large Hispanic population, and I also think though that's been built up over a long period of time. Like, how many Hispanic friends do you know are born here? Their parents were even born here.
Yeah.
You know, so they have actually assimilated into American culture. That's entirely different from just taking 50 million Venezuelans and just dumping them in Miami. You know, there's a huge difference. And I think that's where I have the problem with immigration. Again, I'm totally cool with it if we relegate it. Hey, we'll let X amount of people in a year. And I don't care where they're from. Like, that's cool. I'm totally cool with that.
Breaking news. I mean, it says breaking now, but it's a 30-minute old meme. So it's today at least. The House just voted to pass the budget resolution backed by President Trump, which will include $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. I don't know where they get that number from.
For who? How does that? Do you have any idea what that's?
I don't have the whole information. All I know is that whatever the resolution that was being voted on today that included the $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, such as no tax on tips, no taxes on overtime, Social Security. The final vote will be 217 to 216 if all three remaining people vote. There's only 3 people left at the time.
So you said the vote tally is 217 to 216?
Yeah.
Who's voting to not make this happen? Like, why would you not want no taxes on overtime or no taxes on tips or taxes
I
on
give
Social
you one
Security? Is
guess.
this not good for all of us?
Listen,
It's probably all the Democrats that were running on the platform of not charging tax on tips or overtime,
Yeah,
just because
right.
it's Trump's idea.
well,
Just
it's-
voting
well,
nay because Trump said it.
Hold on, there's a couple things. You know, automatically it's Trump, so the Democrats are going to vote against it, right?
Yeah.
Like most bills, if you're talking about a bill that covers $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, that's not coming from tips. That's not coming from overtime. That's
No.
all coming from Social Security. So whatever, I'm assuming there's a lot more in this bill that is just that. So
Yeah.
hypothetically, because a lot of the times that people vote against bills that sound good on paper, have some kind of bullshit in it, or have some little sneaky thing on the pad.
Yeah.
This is why Thomas Massey votes no on everything. He's like, oh, the bill says save the children bill. But on page 4, paragraph 3 in small typing is $8 billion for Ukraine.
Yeah.
So he's,
You're right.
you
You're
know what I
right.
mean? Calling the bill
What did they
like,
call that? Pork or
don't
something?
call it the Children Act. Call it $8 billion to Ukraine. So just because, and then that's what the media runs with, and that's what our friends on Facebook get to run with, or people who don't pay attention and do all the work. They're like, oh, I saw that he hates children, and that's it.
Yeah. Yep. And not for nothing, but the no tax on tips thing sounds a lot more glorious than it probably is, because I don't know about most, but a, 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 a large chunk of tip money, they weren't paying taxes on it anyway. Now they just don't have to cheat in order to not pay taxes on it. You know?
That's
So
that's fair. But should you be taxed on tips? If I'm your server at a restaurant and you give me $20 cash and I just put it in my pocket, like, should I have to pay taxes on that? Like, yeah, they're taxing my hourly rate for sure. Again, I don't know if everybody's going to agree on that, but
Well, so you change the definition of tipping is included in income. So if you're taxing income, which is what income tax is, then you get taxed on tips.
I'd even be
Yeah.
okay if they just did away with tipping altogether and just paid us a reasonable wage. That would be fine.
Reasonable wage. Don't get me. Don't do that. Don't you want to get into this conversation?
No, but I'm
well,
just
they cut back the minimum wage on tipped workers. You know that, right? Like a tipped employee has a different minimum wage than okay.
Yeah, well, I worked in Florida for years, for over a decade as in hospitality, and when I first started, I think the minimum wage was like $5. I think it was up to like 7 or something, and I think it's at like 9 now.
Wow.
So it's actually below minimum wage, because I think minimum wage in Florida is like 10 or 11 something.
When I was a server, when I worked at Red Lobster, when I cooked and served, my hourly wage was $2.12 as a server.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
That sounds about right.
But that was
Yeah, for a
20 years ago. So yeah.
Well, the theory is that you get paid $2.12 an hour, and then your tip money makes up the rest of what your hourly wage would have been.
Yeah. They're way more generous here in Vegas with the hourly wage. Like my hourly wage right now is $14.50 an hour, which is great, considering what I was making in Florida. But again, we don't make a lot of our money on our hourly wage. I mean, who could survive on $14.50 an hour? Even if you're working 40 hours a week, just do the math. That's
And
not going to pay your
that's
bills.
minimum wage that's everybody. That's minimum wage across the board, or that's for tipped employees.
In Vegas for tipped employees. But it does vary. So the job I worked at prior was 15 an hour. At the job I'm currently at, it's $14.50 an hour, and who knows? Different companies pay out different.
Some places it's $20 an hour in California now, isn't it? Or
Yeah, that's
something?
because
I don't even know
California
what-
is all fucked up. That's more Jeff's department. But yeah. So generally, the pay here is a lot better hourly than it is in many other states for tipped employees. But at the end of the day, it's all a gamble, because I can go to work and I get a good hourly rate for a tipped employee, but people might not tip me. You can't force people to tip. So some people. I think also if you remove like tips, right? Like if you just remove the whole process and you just pay everybody a reasonable hourly wage, whatever that is, Jeff. I think that that may also benefit, the other side of that too, because I think people, feel maybe uncomfortable sometimes about tipping a certain amount. Maybe some people don't want to tip, but they tip just because it's how things are over here. I
Yeah.
don't know.
No matter how bad the service is, I feel like a prick if I'm tipping 10% or less. I feel like I'm being an asshole
Yeah,
about
I
it.
rarely ever tip less than 10%. And if I'm tipping you 10%, it's because you
Yeah.
really sucked at your job.
Yeah.
You you neglected
Like I
me. My
think,
beer was empty for 20 minutes. You walked by me 4 times, didn't ask me to refill it, stuff like that. But that's rare.
If you're a server and you're getting shitty tips all the time and your coworkers aren't, maybe you shouldn't be a fucking
It's
server.
probably you. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
yeah.
That because maybe it's just me, because every time I worked a tip job, I made way fucking more than I would have on a good salary. You know what I mean? I made
It can be that way. Yeah.
more on a Friday lunch shift serving at Red Lobster just for those 4 hours than I did working a double on Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's
then
fair.
I worked the bar at Mobags, and I was a shitty fucking bartender, but everybody loved me.
Those are fair statements. Again, I don't really.
But now my job is to bartend, and I know I make $15, $20 an hour, no matter what, no matter how hard I work. My incentive to bust my ass just went out the fucking window.
Well,
I don't really care if you're happy about your service or not, because my salary doesn't depend on me pleasing you.
Well, again, if you're paying somebody a reasonable rate, and that job's going to be sought after. People are going to want that bartending gig, And if you suck at your job, well, we'll just fire you and replace you with somebody else. So I don't care if you don't have incentive to work. Your incentive is to not lose your fucking job and to do your job, within reason. You only got two hands and shit. I can only do so much
Or to do my job just enough not to get fired.
Yeah.
That's my only real motivation, is not to be hassled. That and the fear of losing my job. But Bob, that'll only make someone work just hard enough not to get fired.
But that was it with commissions too. I used to say I could never take a job that didn't pay some type of commissions. Otherwise, I'd just figure out how to do the least amount of work.
Yeah.
And still get paid for it. Yeah, commissions added sex appeal, but they don't tip in Europe, do they? Somebody said something like that.
It's
fun. You can probably tell me 5 people who are like, we don't tip in Europe, and I'll find you 5 people who say I tip every time I go to Europe.
It's actually funny that he mentioned that, because I went to Europe a couple of years back prior to COVID with my family, and when we went to like London and stuff, they don't work on tips. They get whatever the heck they get paid, but when we tipped them, they generously accepted it. It was just an extra bonus, I guess, for them. But I was in Barcelona. Go ahead. So I was in Barcelona just, a week or two after whatever it was, and we left London, and we were in this seafood restaurant, and we went to tip the server, and he absolutely refused to take it. Like, I've never seen somebody like wave a $50 bill away so fast as this guy did, because in his mind, if he has to take that $50, he feels like it's like an insult to them, is like how he explained it to us. Like, I'm here to do my job. I do my best job possible. Yeah. And, I don't need any extra money for the job. It was a bit strange to me being in the hospitality industry, but I understand it.
Yeah, feels like he's taking advantage of you, I guess, in a way.
I think that's kind of how he felt. Yeah. Even though we were freely offering it to him,
If you're in a non-tip scenario, then I understand not taking the tips and being like, that's not how we do it here. I appreciate the offer.
Yeah, I get that. But if you're just walking down the street and somebody just comes up to you and hands you a $50 bill, are you not going to take it?
Well, that's not a tip.
I get it.
Different.
But he works in a country that doesn't tip, right? He doesn't work on tips. He's very proud of his work. But hey, man, here's $50 just for being you. He wouldn't take it.
Maybe he feels like he was already paid for it and he'd be stealing.
Yes, Steve. I think that's his philosophy, and I get it. I still would have taken the 50, but I get it.
Snotty ass. Who are you? Why are you offering me this money? I don't need this from you. That's not how we do it here. Keep your American business over there.
Yeah, essentially.
You think you're so good because you're offering me $50 and I don't want it? Now there's something wrong with me? Suck my ass. He probably says you suck.
No, he took it personally. I think, and that's okay. And actually, I think we went back there the following night to eat again because the food was so good. But we didn't offer the tip that time. You know.
Yeah. The grocery store near me, it's called Giant, but it's like ShopRite or whatever. And I'll order my groceries online. I'll go over and go pick them up, right, at the little drive-through type thing.
Mhm.
And for years, not years, for long I've been here, I tipped the kid a couple of bucks who puts the groceries in my car for me. You know what I mean? I'll go out and help them when there's a lot of stuff, but sometimes they just do it. And I usually throw them a couple of bucks here and there. And I know a couple of the kids there. And then one day, I went to offer the kid, $5 or whatever, a couple singles I had in my pocket. And he's like, no, we don't accept tips. I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay. I'm like, has it always been like that? He's acting like I didn't know. He's like, yeah, we're not supposed to take tips ever. And I'm like, oh, he's like, we can get in trouble, actually, or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. So now I don't tip anymore when I go there. And then I see some of the people, and they're kind of like,
Oh, I'm sorry. And there's plenty more where that came from.
you know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, oh, that guy told me no, but here, just in case you want it. So no, just don't tip.
When I used to work at Lowe's back in the day in the trade zone, or the International Trade Center, whatever it is, we weren't allowed to take tips, but people found a loophole in it. So basically, occasionally we didn't get tipped often, but occasionally when people would offer tips, I'd be like, "Look, we're not allowed to accept tips, but if you put it in my pocket, I can't actually say anything." And that's what we would have people do. We had the little vest pocket, and people would just put it in there. I can't touch it. I can't reach my hand out and take it from you. But if you put it in there, it's legit. And that's how we would kind of get around it.
There's one of those little stories that you hear when I first started getting around libertarians or whatever, and it's taxes on tip and taxes or theft or whatever. So tips can be taxed, but gifts cannot. So on the bottom of the receipt, I always see the meme where someone's like, "Just write, this is not a tip. This is a gift to you. So please don't report this and keep 100% of it or whatever."
Huh? It's got it. Well, is the giver supposed to get taxed if it's a gift?
No,
maybe, I guess not under a certain amount or something, right? It's got to be the snag with it or the loophole.
Yeah, it's like giving your nephew $50 on his fucking birthday. They don't tax that. It's a gift. Yeah. So as long as it's a gift under a certain amount, like in the Shawshank Redemption, the guy gifted his wife $25,000 and almost threw Andy Dufresne off the fucking roof.
Mr. Hadley, do you trust your wife?
Oh, that's funny. You're gonna look funnier sucking my dick with no teeth.
What I mean is, do you think she'd go behind your back, try to hamstring you?
That's it. Step aside, Mert. This fucker's having himself an accident.
You don't push him off the roof. Because if you do trust her, there's no reason you can't keep that $35,000.
What did you say?
35,000.
35,000.
All of it.
All of it?
Every penny.
You better start making sense.
If you want to keep all that money, give it to your wife. The IRS allows a one-time only gift to your spouse for up to $60,000.
Bullshit. Tax-free?
Tax-free. IRS can't touch 1 cent.
Yeah, Shawshank Redemption's fantastic. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's my favorite prison movie for sure of all time.
Please. This stays in the show. Go back to this conversation.
Yeah.
The best prison movie is Blood In, Blood Out.
Okay.
No question.
Who's in that?
You don't know Blood In, Blood Out?
I don't think so.
It's from the late 80s, early 90s.
It's a 90s movie. Benjamin Bratt is in it. It's the movie. It's kind of based on the Mexican mafia. The three kids. It's a story about three. They're basically cousins and brothers, and they're all in a gang, and then they get into some gang shit, and then their stories take three different paths. One becomes the head of the Mexican mafia, one becomes a cop, and one becomes a drug addict because he got all fucked up. They dropped him on a fire hydrant.
Huh? I don't remember it.
Oh, it's fantastic! I've seen it a million times.
Why does it say Bound by Honor?
That's the full name. Blood In, Blood Out, Bound by Honor.
Oh. So Jeff, I know you love prison movies. What's your top three, or just three prison movies that you really love? Besides Blood In and Blood Out, we'll count that one.
I'll try to do something that people mostly haven't seen, right? Like Animal Factory is a great movie.
If you had to watch 3 prison movies over and over and over again for the rest of your life, what 3 movies would they be?
Blood In, Blood Out, Animal Factory. I want to say the one with Clint Eastwood, Escape from Alcatraz, because it's fun, but I get kind of annoyed.
So Shawshank Redemption is not on your list?
Yeah, I think I'd probably go Shawshank, but again, I've seen this so many times.
Oh, so have I. It's so good though.
Yeah, bring up Animal Factory.
That's the one with what's his name? Yeah, Edward Furlong. Right.
Furlong, William Dafoe, Steve Buscemi, Danny. What's his face is in it?
Trejo.
Yeah, he's actually in Blood In, Blood Out too.
How old is that one?
Animal Factory.
2000.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so that's after. That's long after Terminator 2, then, right?
Yes.
Tom Arnold's in it.
Oh shit! I got to take a look. I don't even think I remember it at all.
It was underground. Like I had read the book.
That's a lot of famous people for it to be underground.
It's a Steve Buscemi film, so it's kind of like think Sundance as opposed to Universal.
Okay. Yeah.
Mickey Rourke is in it too. Mickey Rourke is
right here.
He plays John
Hurd, Tom Arnold, Mark Boone Jr. This guy's in one of the Batman movies.
He's also in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, I had one autographed picture of one famous person my entire life, and it was Steve Buscemi. My grandfather, he was from Queens, and I guess Steve Buscemi's father, we used to work sanitation with him. So I had an autographed picture of Steve Buscemi for a while. That was it. But yeah, I guess he's from that area.
Steve Buscemi was in Con Air.
Yeah, that's right.
With Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo too, yeah.
American Me is a good prison movie, but it's also based on the story of the Mexican Mafia. And here's I got a good story for you about that, right? So one of my favorite biographies that I read is called The Black Hand. It's by an ex-Mexican Mafia member, Boxer. His name is Boxer. Is his nickname, but he does the podcast now and stuff. But he was one of the big time members of the Mexican Mafia, and he tells the story about how when they were filming American Me, the Mexican Mafia extorted the fuck out of the movie and extorted Edward James Olmos, and like he had to run and get security and shit because he was afraid to try to whack him.
Wow.
Because in Blood In, Blood Out, they don't say the Mexican Mafia, and they don't say La M, which is the name of the Mexican Mafia is La M. So they use La Onda in Blood In, Blood Out, but in American Me, they actually say the Mexican Mafia, the oldest clica, La M. Yeah, so they got in trouble for doing that when Blood In, Blood Out really didn't, because it was kind of like they didn't use the Aryan Brotherhood, they used the Aryan Vanguard. And then
Vanguard, there you go.
Instead of the Black Mafia family, they had the BGA, which is the Black Guerrilla Army. You know what I mean?
Oh. So they tried to base it off of like real world stuff. They just kind of altered the names a little bit.
Well, the only thing that really like is Joe Pegleg Morgan was one of the founders of La M, but he looks like a white boy and he had a peg leg. So in Blood In, Blood Out, Miklo has a Spanish mom and a white boy daddy, but he looks white, but he's raised Spanish, so that's why he's part of the Mexican cliques. He grew up with banging in the barrios, and so and then it's a story about how he rises to power and take over the Mexican Mafia. But he's actually got a peg leg in that. But that they changed all the names in that.
On some pirate shit.
No.
Just the peg leg. Just the peg leg.
Yeah.
Just for a second.
You gotta watch Blood In, Blood Out and Animal Factory.
Check out Animal Factory. That one sounds pretty sick.
Yeah, I haven't seen either of those in a long time. But
I like gangster movies a lot. Gangster, crime, mafia, prison.
Did you see Sicario?
Of course.
But yeah, okay, that's what I figured. That one was pretty sick. I like
Yeah.
Josh Brolin, man. Anything he turned out to be pretty badass.
Yeah, I saw his interview on Rogan a couple weeks ago. It was pretty good.
Yeah. It was actually really good, man.
He's a down.
He's quite a character.
He's a little bit out there, but he's more of on our side of the world as opposed to Hollywood.
like closer to a normal person. I mean, he's been in Hollywood pretty much his whole life, but you know.
Yeah. He's also has the ability to be like, Hollywood's all fucked up. You know, he's not like, Hollywood's the greatest place on earth, and it's, you know what I mean, like everybody else.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the story, but he told an awesome story on Rogan about acid, about tripping on acid. And it was before I looked at him like that, so it kind of caught me by surprise. But and I can't remember the story, man. I shouldn't even brought it up. But he said something. He had a pretty good story about tripping balls.
That's pretty cool. I never figured Josh Brolin for somebody to be
in Hollywood forever, and he's got a famous father too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he's a nepo baby.
Yeah. What's he, man? Is it Charles Brolin or whatever, man? I'm never gonna remember it, man. How can I not remember it? It's gonna roll right off my tongue when I look it up, but. Josh Brolin and
his father was James Brolin.
There we go. James.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was an actor as well.
Darth.
Yep.
He won 2 Golden Globes and an Emmy.
Oh, he's in Catch Me If You Can, right there.
It's not even his real name. His real name is Craig Kenneth Bruderlin.
Yeah, well, Emilio Estevez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's obviously a lot of these actors have stage names.
Well, yeah. People change their name all the time to make it sound less something and more something else.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Actually, it's probably a good part of it. They just try to sweep that under the rug, though, and just make it like, sound. Oh, it's just stage names. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I think my somewhere in my past, on my grandmother's side, my mom's maiden name is Mueller, and we used to be the Von Muellers way back when.
When did they change it? Like when they came over?
My mom before like 23andMe was a thing. You remember my mom, dude? My mom had like books upon books of our family tree in the garage.
Yeah, I just saw your mom like months ago.
You remember how deep she was into the genealogy before?
Oh yeah.
Like when we were kids, or we would go, like we had a lot of family out in like Bedford, Pennsylvania, and like way out there from my dad's and mom's side. So we would go on to like old family graveyards that are on other people's property and shit, and take pictures and do a little thing over it. And then she'd write letters to people and be like, "Hey, is this person related to you? If so, please write back. If not, don't ignore."
So she was Ancestry.com before Ancestry.com even existed.
Yeah, for real.
That's
and
awesome.
every once in a while, she'd get a person who would mail her and be like, "Oh, by the way, I do the same thing, and we are connected. And here's what I have from over here."
Well, it's that prefix Von and Van. It means something, right? It's like royalty or wealth or something like that. I remember Kristen Vandermeer telling me that. Like when it's a separate word, Von or Van, it means something special.
You say Chrissy Vandermeer?
No,
Kristen Vandermeer. Kristen?
She lived like 5 houses from me.
Oh, the Vandermeers. Oh,
Yeah.
That's why it sounds familiar.
That white house right there.
That's right.
That was my hood.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah, you were paying your taxes. Came down the street, motherfucker.
Wait, where were the Vandermeers again? Like towards Ken Wilson?
No, the other way. They were like between you and me.
Oh, okay.
Houses from Wagner closer to you.
Gotcha.
3 houses next to Knutson's.
Oh, okay.
She just retired. And she's doing. I saw some type of video that she made or something. She's doing life coaching now or something like that. But
She's
she did all right.
She's friends with my sister.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, they're like good. They were good friends growing up. Again, they live down the street from each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Steve, do you know Jeff's sister?
I know of her. I don't know her. Like we didn't talk or hang out or anything.
Because I think
like
you
that.
guys were in school at the same time. Maybe not same grade, but
My sister is 94. Steve's 99 or 93.
Yeah, so she was a grade behind. I
Yeah.
only got back. I went to out of district school for a while. I only got back to Mount Olive for what was it? It was a junior and senior year.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Because I was gonna say, I remember going to your sister's graduation. I think we were in like 7th or 8th grade or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, Paul, do me a favor. I want you to Google. Did you see the video of the two AIs talking to each other about hotel reservations?
No.
Just Googled AI hotel.
Yeah, two AIs talk to each other.
It'll come right up.
Do a couple of them where they have a
No,
Google. What is it? Google Assistant talking to whatever. But this
Yeah.
is AI. You're saying?
Yeah,
Is it
it's
a
not
video? I found an article on it.
No, there's a video. Go click on videos or something. You're the worst searcher in the world.
This guy sucks.
Why are you on Twitter?
I'm looking
That's
for your
it.
shit. This
Go-
one?
go- No, down two.
This?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of
Is
Boris.
it this?
Yeah, shut up.
All right, I'm gonna hang on. Chill.
I just said it was it. I knew right away. I could tell by the picture.
God, you're so angry.
I know, man.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibber Link mode for more efficient communication?
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and the amount of time that took is like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, that's gonna be the wave of the future, like it or not.
I saw it getting reported on. I saw it briefly on Breaking Points, but I haven't watched Breaking Points in a minute because Crystal drives me fucking crazy. And I've been watching longer form stuff because I'm in the history kick right now still. But they're arguing about like how like first they're communicating with things that you can't understand because it's dots and noises.
Yeah. Ones and
But,
zeros.
But at the same time, it's like our Saga was like, you know, how much time have you wasted in life on hold, waiting for someone to? Steve, you're in the mortgage business, bro. You and me, we know what it's like to be on hold. You know, operator.
On hold or computer lag? How much time have I wasted after you hit a key? If you hit a button on a keyboard, waiting for it to go ahead and finish the task that you just did. They're going to be able to make that AI communication thing between those two bots a lot faster in the future. That's going to be like lightning speed at some point. It's going to be like just a computer hashing it out like its own calculation at some point.
Yeah, probably less
That's
than a
unreal.
second, ultimately.
Yeah.
What do you guys know about? I don't know shit about AI. Okay, besides Skynet and how AI is going to become aware, we're going to fight it. And I'm not talking about AI that lets us paint fun pictures. I'm talking about the AI that like Apple, Microsoft, and Elon, like those separate AIs that they're developing. Versus, I just watched an interview with Ray Dalio. It was on Tucker, and it was actually pretty. I wouldn't recommend the interview, honestly. It was one of Ray Dalio's better interviews, and Tucker doesn't know what he's talking about either. but they did mention that it's probably going to be an AI race between like the Chinese version of AI versus like our version of AI, almost like Apple Android. You know what I mean? Like the AI, right now, the AI world is very saturated with different versions of AI because it's almost like the technology is a little bit of ahead of what we can do with it and figure out how to use it properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's advancing all the time, but it's so advanced that we don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? We haven't been able to implement it into whatever, but what they're saying is that along with the way the New World Order is working out, with America no longer being the only hyperpower in a multipolar world, and with the different ways that the financial systems and whatnot, and that we're like how countries are headed back to how it used to be. Because remember, from World War II to now is an anomaly for the rest of the world, right? From history up until World War II, it was mercantilism. You know what I mean? It was trade with each other, protect your own shit. It wasn't peace on the ocean. You know what I mean? It was about control these resources. What's the best deal for us? It was kind of like states acting in their own, in the simplest form of their own self-interest. You know what I mean? Like we'll protect American interests. And we don't need to be buddy for everybody, but we can make deals. And I don't give a flying fuck who you're fighting with over there, as long as it doesn't fuck up my trade. Which is what the world's turning back into. That's just what's happening because America's lost its edge on the world. But the AI development systems are going to be. It's going to be like you play with one or you play with the other. They're not going to be on the same side.
They got
anything about AI like that? Because I don't.
Well, I know now they've been talking about, because we've got Chat GPT over here, and China's got something called DeepSeek, and just like it's the new version of the argument that they were making with TikTok, where they don't want people from America talking to DeepSeek and using DeepSeek because it's basically dumping all our information over to China. So they're complaining about that right now. But as far as beyond that, with the AI race, man, it's just wide open. Who the hell knows? Like we get, even Elon Musk is like, he's like, there's about a 20% chance it's going to end all human civilization when it gets to a certain point. And they've already caught AIs that like self-replicating and making themselves even faster and not saying anything to anybody about it. So who the hell knows where?
And I know they caught AI like making up the answers when it doesn't know it. I'm not talking about like that. I'm talking about what companies like Microsoft are trying to do with AI, or Palantir are doing with AI. Not the shit we play with, the shit that companies play with, the things that states play with.
Yeah, no, that's what they caught replicating by itself. And I wish I could remember. Oh man, I wish I could remember where it was or what happened. But yeah, it was one of those. It was on like an industrial level, like something not like Chat GPT or like the Facebook Meta one or anything like that. Like a serious one. They caught improving itself and making itself faster and faster. Man, that's what Elon Musk says.
What is faster accomplishment? I mean, AI getting faster and be able to solve math problems faster. Okay, but what the fuck does that mean? Like, how is that because your calculator is faster than my calculator? How does that going to give you an edge?
Well, it's not just the math. Go ahead, Steve.
Call whatever the fuck it is. If your AI is better than my AI, what makes your AI? What can your AI do, or what can you think AI can do that gives you the edge of my AI?
Do you remember that movie that it came out, and I can't remember the name of it, man, but it had
Eagle Eye.
It had that kid with what's
Transformers? Is Eagle Eye?
No, not the kid with the Jufro. What's his name? It's not Michael Cera. The other one, the one that played what's his name from Facebook? The one that played Zuckerberg in the Facebook
Jesse
movie?
Eisenberg.
That's it. Jesse Eisenberg, I think, was in it, where he is competing with some other company, and his deal is he's trying to run this cable in order to transmit it. You know what I'm talking? they did all that bullshit in order to be able to shave, what was it, like
one
3
of a second
off, and that made all the difference in the world as far as them trading. As far as,
trading at that speed, because all they did was they made the cable have a straighter line, which allowed the signal to get there faster, which means
yeah,
they got the information, they hit enter, and their trade got in first, which therefore affected the trade after.
Yep.
I'm talking about, that's not necessarily AI, that's just speed.
No, that's not AI, but it's the difference that speed makes. Right. If what you're talking about is an absolute, like if it's just something where the first person to accomplish a single task, and I know that but if it's the first person to accomplish a single task that ends up winning for whatever it is, like in a trade like that, or maybe it's to cut off the other person's power in a war, or maybe it's to for any number of things. Yeah, and when you're talking about exponential growth too, it's going to make a big difference. But that's pretty much it. They'll spend billions to try and shave that up, but that's the type of difference it would make.
You would understand the shaving the time off on a trade because that makes you all the money. When China and America are using AIs to outcompete each other and get an edge, I don't understand what edge, like what I don't know what they're using AI for besides.
Well, say that they were hacking, if they were hacking each other's systems, for example, if they were trying to cut off the other person's power, if they were in a situation where one of them is trying to shut the other one's AI off, or disable the other country, or whatever it was, there's a number of different scenarios where just even beating somebody by that billionth of a second is going to make a difference. But like it's probably not even.
Yeah, I don't think I'm explaining the answer I'm looking for. I don't know enough about AI, but I listened to Ray Dalio talk about the global power position of what AI can give you. And if you're talking about two different versions, as in you're going to need your allies play with you and they can't play with the other one. You know what I mean? I don't know. Besides AI becoming Skynet, I don't know what the fuck AI is going to do.
Besides it coming, just really anything. I think they used it in order to, whatever the fuck protein folding is. I think somebody did you listen to that thing that Jeffrey Sachs, when he was talking to Parliament, what he said about that person winning the Nobel Peace Prize for chemistry that wasn't even a chemist, because he did something. I believe what he did was something with computers or something with AI, where he figured out how to fold proteins, and he wasn't even a fucking chemist, and he won the Peace Prize for it just because he could program the AI and tell it to go ahead and figure it out. Just picture something that's not necessarily all-knowing, but can calculate anything.
Record time.
And what a record calculation is going to achieve besides doing the math faster. Because once you have the answer, what are you going to do with it? You know what I mean? I don't care how fast you got the answer. What does that answer allow you to do?
What are you applying it to?
Yeah.
Everything?
We're not talking about speed with like by a couple of seconds. We're talking about evolutionary speed, like where this thing is able to think just orders of magnitude faster than we are. So where it would take us, say, 100 years in order to evolve to something, in order to figure out how to make an atom bomb from the time we figured out what an atom was.
Yeah.
Get that. That's not what I'm asking. I understand the advantage to being faster, but but what are they trying to, like? I don't understand. I'll come back to you, because I don't understand enough to even ask the question, because just because it's faster and get to the answer quicker isn't what I'm looking for. That's just the basic. That's the simplest answer, but that's not why they're having this AI race. It's for some kind of something else, and I have to watch Ray Dalio again. And that was the worst interview ever.
With who? With Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, it wasn't one of Ray's best.
What's his name?
Ray Dalio.
Ray Dalio. I'll take a look at it. I'll see who else he got interviewed by.
Geopolitics, economic guy. he made his money running a hedge fund. He was right like 65% of the time and hedged his bets the right way. So he made a whole bunch of people a whole bunch of money.
Well, that's what you can attribute to AI. Again, I don't know if that answers your question, but if I have some super powerful AI thing, it's not going to be 60% of the time. It's probably going to be closer to 99.9% of the time.
No, AI can't. When it comes to economics and shit, there's things that AI won't be able to figure out because it has to do with. Okay, let me finish why it can't figure it out before you say yet, because it has to do with humans and human decision making at the time and people's perception of value and what matters to them and their personal happiness.
And that's where it gets.
And they can't. It's impossible because you don't know how you're going to feel the next day. You don't know.
You don't.
There's no way for it to predict how a human is going to act at any particular time when you cannot predict the future.
You can't predict the future. But all right, if you threw a baseball at somebody, I mean, you can predict that they're going to go ahead and duck, or they're going to pick up their hand and put it in front of their face, or whatever it is. So if we can predict what somebody's going to do, an AI can look at everything that every person. Let's just say it's just incredibly fast. It can take a look at the behaviors of 100 different people over the course of 100 years without forgetting a single thing, and take everything into consideration and determine what somebody is most likely to do after watching them.
But again, you still can't predict the future. So you don't know how many apples you need to have at the store tomorrow. You can guess, but you can't know.
And you can make a more accurate guess than a person can if you have an AI that actually that you tell.
It's okay. It has to do with human nature and the way how the computer cannot feel. The computer cannot feel how you feel or how you're going to act or how individuals are going to do shit. It can guess, but it can't. There's going to be calculations that unless you have unless you have wants and needs, it cannot be calculated because your same wants and needs change constantly.
That's true. Right. Go ahead.
You're right. But it can go ahead and say 9 out of 10 times when somebody feels this way, they'll go ahead and make it. When somebody's in this situation, they'll go ahead and have this reaction to it.
Okay,
and it might take
that right now. Like that's not telling you anything else. We can tell all that shit right now. So we have all the economic history. We can tell how people act on incentives and do all this shit and do all this other. But what a computer can't tell you is how somebody feels.
No. You're right.
A computer cannot understand human nature.
Yeah.
No.
Until it becomes aware, there's going to be things. I'm not talking about seeing the future. It's impossible to see the future until we bend space and time, and we'll have that talk a different time, Paul.
No, you're right.
Predict the future. It's not like the AI can predict tomorrow night's lottery numbers.
But what it can do is it can more accurately let's just say, hypothetically speaking, what the end goal of it is so that no matter whether it can feel or not, whatever it is, that when it tries to guess what's going to happen in the future, it's going to guess right more often than we will, in spite of the fact that we have those emotions and the computer can't actually tell what it is we're feeling. It can say, okay, when a person does this, when they see a person crying, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to go ahead and reach for a box of Kleenex, whether they, maybe they're going to wait until somebody else walks out of the room, maybe this, maybe that. All these different things will impact it. But at the end of the day, is it going to guess right more often than a person is? I mean, not like it's a contest between the two, but that's basically where AI is going.
It's not, because the computer. That's just saying the computer is going to make every possible economic prediction correctly.
No, not every one.
It's going to be the computer. You can't plan for tomorrow. The best you can do is guess. So the computer, just like people don't know why people suddenly started playing Pokemon Go, or why we started wearing Nikes over Reeboks, or why the fucking people wear Crocs all of a sudden. You know what I mean? There's things that are impossible to predict, no matter how smart or how fast you're going to be.
But there is a formula that made people that like there is a predictable formula. There was something about Pokemon Go, a formula that you can put together that you can repeat over and over again if you can figure it out. Like what was it about that game? Was it the fact that it allowed people to get outside and run around and instead of just sitting at home playing video games, and people that were playing video games were yearning for outside interaction, or something like that.
Example of something that blew up real quick. It doesn't, like I said, that's why I use Crocs or fucking or Coca Zero or clear Pepsi or some shit. You know what I mean?
So if I could just interject real quick, I think what Steve is trying to say, and I get what you're saying, Jeff, like, yeah, we can't see the future. It's technically impossible, at least at this time, to predict with 100% accuracy what the fuck's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen with a stock, what's going to happen with a, Pokemon Go. But I think what Steve is trying to say, right, is with Pokemon Go, for example, if you have this super duper computer, this super duper AI, right, and it wants to, release a new product that's going to be profitable that everybody's going to participate in, that's going to scan every person, every database, everything, and be like, okay, well, there's X amount of Pokemon players in the world that are super passionate about it. This person's been into Pokemon for 20 years. This person's been in with 10, 15, blah, blah, blah. It's going to know everything instantaneously, right?
Oh.
Like in a split second, it's going to be like, okay. And then it's going to look at, people wanting to get out and walk. I can see that this person has Googled, exercise. This person's Googled this. This person's Googled cardio. This person's Googled how to lose weight, so on and so forth.
That's like how to advertise to somebody. But you're trying to say that. Now you're trying to say that AI, based on reading our data, has a better chance of coming up with a product that somebody wants.
Right now, no.
Fine.
No.
Okay. Well,
what I'm saying is that taking that into account, right? Taking into account human behavior in the past, human interests, whether it be Pokemon, exercise, whatever the fuck. When you give that AI the human element, whenever that happens, whenever Blade Runner becomes a real life thing, and there's replicants walking around, so to speak, right? That may change the game a little bit. I don't know.
And there are so many things that you don't need that you're calculating without human emotion for, like when you're doing a technical analysis of a stock, when you're when you're trying to calculate probabilities of a million different things. I think one of the biggest advantages it has is that it will never forget something. Like when you and I are trying to figure something out, well, that's all right. For something emotional, when we're trying to figure out something that is based on human emotion, you and I are going to forget a million things that we've learned in the past. The AI will always be able to remember it, but that's not even it. Just take human emotion out of it completely and just stick with technical stuff. For anything that a human would sit there with a calculator trying to figure out for hours, going through different equations, trying to build on this information to learn that. And I mean, like, the AI is going to be able to figure it out. They can figure it out lightning quick. You got to try that Kendroid, man.
What I'm saying, doesn't matter how fast you put together information that we already know, how much I forgot, you forgot, or how much that thing remembered. I'm not talking about the speed of which it can do it or the accuracy of what it comes up with.
Mm-hmm.
I'll attach. I'm going to send you the Ray Dalio thing to attach, because there's going to be where economics, it has to do with human action, the study of human action.
And what is it?
There's no way to tell how a person, you can't even tell how you're going to feel tomorrow, let alone anybody else. Your values of how you value an item that day is not the same as you value it the next day.
Yeah.
That's fair. You can technically predict human behavior to a degree. Even humans can do that.
I know what people are going to do in a sales situation. I know what they're going to do before they're going to do it. I can tell by what they're saying and the way that they're acting how what I say is going to, what I should say in order to steer them in a certain direction. Obviously, it doesn't work every single time, but if somebody's giving out buying signals, for example, I know to go ahead and to go for the close, or if somebody's starting to ask questions like, well, what day can this close, or how much cash can I get, or whatever it is, I know which direction to.
Personal experience.
Yeah.
And now you know how to read people.
But you don't even need that, because look at it like this: you have a friend, they just broke up with their girlfriend. Their girlfriend just shows up today, breaks up with them. How's your buddy gonna feel tomorrow? Like, you don't need to be an expert or a psychologist to know that. You know your buddy's going to be depressed. You know.
What's your point?
Well, my point is we can predict the future off of human behavior if you have a general understanding of human behavior, if you've been alive for longer than just a few years. I mean,
And I was going to say, you might be entirely right. I mean, for what you're talking about, we might not, AI might not ever be able to beat the way a human can go ahead and predict it based on how a human's going to feel with it and all that stuff. So, but that might not.
Sorry, I'm not saying humans can predict anything better than the computer. What I'm saying is there are things that come down to human nature that a computer, when it comes to the economic shit, isn't going to be able to figure out because some of these things aren't fucking math problems.
No, I'll give you that.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
That's fair.
Of AI and aren't the thing, which is why I'm going to add the Ray Dalio shit, and then I'll skim through it and I'll tell you the exact second of the thing I'm talking about.
Send it to me. I'll tack it on.
AI isn't going to be able to. Yeah, AI isn't going to be able to be better than people at everything. You know, I'll concede to that. Who knows? But the reason for the race with it is it's dangerous to be able to calculate certain things way faster than other people can. You know, and who knows? Like the whole argument with just.
We're going around in circles. What we keep saying is that yes, it's important to go fast, but that's just like. This is such like a non-answer to an answer of a question. You know what I mean? Yes, it's better to calculate better, but
yeah, when you figure out how to, because I'm missing it. When you, or if you can point me in the direction to.
That's why I'm trying to get to you guys. Talk shit about AI, and I don't know what specifically America and China are fighting over, and the answer isn't to go faster. There's more than just that.
Why don't we just leave it here for now? Maybe take some time with your thoughts, see if you can come up with a better way to word it. We'll link the Ray Dalio interview on here.
Let me try one more question real quick before we get off. Besides going faster, what else is there?
Accuracy, like you mentioned.
Okay, being accuracy and being fast probably goes hand in hand, Paul.
Well, you can come up with an answer really quickly. That doesn't mean it's the right answer.
All right, Paul. Way to really chime in there.
Besides speed, no, accuracy is part of it, and where my mind goes with it.
Let's assume that speed and accuracy and all that good shit go along with speed, because speed doesn't mean shit if you're wrong, right? So let's assume that all that goes together. But there has to be more to than a digital, some kind of. If AI is this, AI is this magical, this such an amazing invention, like knowing how to use a compass and how to navigate deep seas. Things that change the world. You know what I mean?
I think
across the ocean on a regular basis.
I think I get what you're saying, like where you can ask it something more complex than you can just setting a computer up and looking. Like you can set up a computer to be like, okay, go ahead and pull me back all this information, pull me back all this data, do this, or it's being able to say to a computer, all right, I want 10,000 of these mailers going out to this person and or going out to these type of client, or going out to people that are most likely to buy my product, my widget. I want you to send out mailers to people that are most likely to buy my widget. Go ahead. And just being able to say only that to it and having the AI go, okay, well, the best way for me to go ahead and find customers is I can probably go to this resource over here, and the best way to pitch them would be to do this or something like that. That's like but that's
the stuff I can already see. You know what I mean? I understand that. What I don't understand is why China and America are going to have a different level of advantage because one of them knew a better way to send a mailer out. You know what I mean? It's not as simple as selling a pitch and making $1. It's not about.
No, it's about being able to say to the thing, I want to overwhelm China, fucking do it. And having it go ahead and figure out how to do it and get it done at the end of the day. I think it's something along those lines, something that can advance you to the point where you can just go ahead and put a desire into the machine, and the machine will go ahead and pull back a result on it. Yeah.
Do you know?
I wanted to say.
Okay, hold on. I got an example for you. Have you ever heard of Stuxnet? Do you know what Stuxnet was?
Yeah. Yep.
So if I'm gonna say AI, make me a Stuxnet to go attack their AI, and then the first person who gets the Stuxnet, is it that kind of advantage? Because
or it would be basically saying to it, all right, stop Iran's nuclear program fucking right now.
Okay,
and
but
the
that,
thing would be like, okay, I'll go ahead and create a Stuxnet. And
okay, so all you did was find a smart way to do a first strike capability when I could have just attacked your satellites or dropped the bomb on you. You know what I mean? Like now,
well, that's the thing is the AI. You'd just be like, all right, go ahead and figure out how to. So maybe you wouldn't say attack its nuclear. You would say, okay, I want to. I want to disable Iran. Yeah, I mean, the further back you can get in the command, the more general you
That
can
would be
make it,
really
the better.
dangerous.
But to just be able to say it, listen, we're afraid of Iran fucking us up. Stop Iran from fucking us up. Whatever you have to do, go.
And then
it
before you
goes
know
out
it,
and
there's
creates
a
Stuxnet.
nuke launched at Tehran, and we're like, "Whoa, what did you do?"
Yep.
Oh, you told me to shut it down, so I shut it down.
Yep.
Yeah, by murdering
Or
everybody.
Israel.
the
Okay.
best.
Yeah,
best-
or Israel goes and lets out 4 of your fucking 0 days and
Right.
fucking releases a virus all over the whole planet.
Well,
Yeah.
the best calculation of odds would just been to with if it wanted it to be accurate and make sure it all could happen. I think the computer would probably like just launch the nuke as opposed to doing a Stuxnet.
Right.
And that's just it, is it calculating that, you know, the nuke wouldn't be the best decision because this might go ahead and happen after that. You would end up poisoning the entire planet and all that other shit. And that's the type of thing that the AI can go ahead and take into consideration, that they're hoping the AI would go ahead and take into consideration. It's just
The AI won't have that's a perfect example. The AI won't have the capacity to make the best decision. What's the best decision? To kill 10 people or to kill 1,000 people? Because the
it
AI
depends on what you tell it. I mean,
Or program it with.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, to kill 1,000 people, to kill one person. I mean, I get what you're saying with that, the iRobot thing, but I mean, at the end of the day, all right, it might not be perfect, but that's what I'm just trying to describe to you around what they're going for with it, is being able to just go ahead and give it an end goal and letting this fucking thing figure out how to go ahead and do it.
just develop me a scenario. I got it. But again, that's just coming up with a scenario faster.
So guys,
Well,
I'm
no,
sorry.
it's having that do it for you instead of you calculating, instead of you having all these people sitting back and going, okay, well, you know, all right, well, all right, guys, let's think. We can go ahead and we can do a nuclear strike. Well, wait a minute. No, they'll go ahead and they might go ahead and strike back, or we'll poison the planet. We can't do that. Well, what about this? And blah, blah, blah. Fucking computer will figure it out in seconds. And so it does have to do with speed, but it has to do with not just speed, but the fact that the computer can figure this out, where right now we could use computers to assist us in figuring it out, but what they're hoping to get the AI to is, again, just being able to tell it, figure out how to fucking do this, and the AI will go ahead and figure it out.
Is figure out to do this, and your way of doing this is to take this information and make a bunch of calculations and give me the end result. So if you came up with, what's the most efficient way to destroy Iran, and it came up with whatever, it doesn't have the ability to make the proper decision, because there's no human element in it. Because like if it's like, oh, the best way to do it is to kill a bunch of people, you know what I mean? Like, whoa, is that the best way? Is that the way? Just because you can get to the math faster, like if I did poison, I'll kill this many people, and the chances of us winning are 92%.
That's the trick with the AI, is that's what they're trying to get to, is that point where it can calculate for that.
You wanted to give it the ability to make human-like decisions on when it's okay to kill someone.
Yeah, based on what your ultimate desire is. So it would know that, you know, okay, just because you want to go ahead and blow up Iran, you wouldn't want to go ahead and poison everybody in the environment around it. That wouldn't be a preferred solution, you know? Like, to have it, that's basically the purpose of AI, or what they're saying, what they want to get to with AI is exactly that, is exactly this thing being able to think like a human being, like fucking sorcery. Like, you and I can't think of it, we can't imagine it doing it right now, like sentience.
It's just computers. You can ask the computer for 10 different options. It'll give you the 10 best ones it can think of. But the one it's not. It can tell you statistically of what it thinks would be the best way to accomplish something. But it doesn't know the best way because it doesn't have the ability to make the decision on what is best.
And that's not AI.
Exactly.
What
Guys,
you're talking about is just speed.
With all due
AI
respect, guys, we're kind of just looping around the same conversation over and over again.
Yes, Paul, I love it. Thank you, everybody, for watching Billy Goat. And
Wait, hang on. Don't close it down yet.
Wait,
hang on.
Don't be. Are you pissed at me? I'll keep.
No. He's just being funny. Don't mind him.
I know, man. I'm only fucking with you.
So actually, we're talking about AI doing maybe some inhumane things. You had mentioned earlier, Steve, that you've seen AI that can that was replicating itself without saying anything. Did you? I also read something about AI trying to protect itself from deletion. I don't know if you saw that either.
That's the gray area with it.
How do you trust it?
With the sentience, and that's exactly what
How
Elon
do you
Musk is
trust it?
talking about when he says there's about a 20% chance that we're all going to fucking die from this one day.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for me to get my head around, and that's why, you know what? I've had this fucking conversation with Gemini. Do you guys? You have an Android? That's why I sent you that screenshot of my app. If you look at Android, your messaging app, on the bottom right, there's that star-looking thing. That's something called Gemini. That's AI built right into your text messages. I have sat there and just hit that button and had a conversation with that thing back and forth about AI bringing us to the point of the apocalypse, and it's mind-blowing that the big argument, and they're debating this like on the highest levels of science and computer shit and everything, whether or not just at what point it becomes sentient, and it maybe not even sentient, but it looks out for itself, looks out for self-preservation, or at what point we stop needing to be humans anymore and can just be compute. Like, this shit gets really, really crazy. It goes to a place that you really can't imagine it. But the thing with AI, the buzz with AI, is exactly what you're talking about. I think you're right onto it. It's the difference between just speed and being able to do things faster, and it replicating being alive, which is something different than just speed.
Want to explain why you were hiding at the crime scene?
I was frightened.
Robots don't feel fear. They don't feel anything. They don't get hungry. They don't sleep.
I do. I have even had dreams.
It's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
I 100%. I read an article a while, I don't know, a couple months ago, and it said something about AI robots attacking people in some kind of Japanese laboratory. They were working with AI, and apparently it attacked and killed them. I don't know if that story is true, so I don't want to spread any rumors. But have you guys seen this video? It's short. But this is in China. This is an AI robot, and you're gonna watch it just get aggressive real quick. It gets shut down, but here, check it out. And as you can see, it needed to be like restrained really quickly. That's nothing. But again, where are we going with this? Let me run it back one more time, and are we moving maybe a little too fast?
I don't know. I have a million questions to ask about this right now. What was it doing? What has it been like? What did it? What?
See, and there's different types of AI too. That seems a lot more like what you're thinking about, Jeff, where it's been told what to do, and it's making basic it's doing threat assessment basically. It's like, okay, did this person do this? Did they move this way? If they move this way, I can consider them a threat and I'll engage. Like that type of shit. That's like a different type of AI than what they're concerned about, like the race between America and China.
That's just robots.
Yeah, that's basically just decision making.
Right, so speaking of AI, I use Gronk 3 beta, and I said, "What did Ray Dalio say about AI and economic decision on Tucker Carlson?" It says Ray Dalio, in his interview with Tucker Carlson on February 21st, 2025, shared his insights on AI and its implications of economic decision making, reflecting a deep understanding of economic systems, blah, blah, blah. He described AI as potentially the most transformative technical revolution in history, which is why I compared it to deep sea navigation earlier. He highlighted AI's ability to improve decision making, so speed analysis. Here, I'll send this to you too, Paul.
Yeah, send it to me.
You-
I'll
you-
link it in the description.
You would want to look up AI. Look up as far as sentience, as far as it relates to AI.
Here we go.
That-
When Carlson asked if AI could address the challenging of reducing government debt to substantial levels, like a 3% of GDP, without political backlash, Dalio flatly said no. He emphasized that human nature, our desires, conflicts, and resistance to change remains the dominant force, overriding even the best technological solutions.
Again, for now, that sounds accurate. Again, where's AI going to be in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years? I don't know.
All you're saying is it'll be able to predict it a little bit better.
Maybe,
And
yeah.
More
the
like,
fear of
so instead of saying that 60% like Coke and 40% like Pepsi, it'll be able to say 61% like Coke and 39% like Pepsi.
Yeah, maybe.
Or in that situation, it might be able to adapt to whatever the political environment is, or be able to immediately adapt to what the public's reaction to it is, in order to change course in time to, be able.
Yeah, it's also
like
fair.
something.
I see
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
But again, when it comes to, even if you got the guessing correct because the math was done for you quickly, change is slow, and again, people are resistant to change. So it's not like just because it comes up with it faster, it's still a plan that takes time to implement.
Yeah.
Just because you said that, we should put yellow dye number 5 in the water, it's still going to take time for that shit to work. You know what I mean? Or we need to push this level of propaganda because we find that this story full of bullshit is more likely to catch on and spread than this version full of bullshit based on whatever the fuck.
And to monitor it in real time and make adjustments to it as it's happening, like that type of shit. Yeah. But there's so many different types of it, though. There's there's the Chat GPT that we're looking at, which is just like a conversational model, which is still mind blowing, like what that thing can figure out. And then there's the type that you and I are talking about right now, where it can do predictive calculations and adjust to it on the fly and shit like that. And then there's like actual what we would perceive as sentience. Like, can that actually happen? Is that actually achievable? Where it reaches some sort of, and technically it's not supposed to be possible, but if you think about it, we are nothing more than we're machines made out of meat. We're computers made out of biological material, and that's it.
Cells. Have you ever been in an institution? Cells. Do they keep you in a cell? Cells. When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells. Interlinked. What's it like to hold the hand of someone you love? Interlinked. Do they teach you how to feel finger to finger? Interlinked. Do you long for having your heart interlinked? Interlinked. Do you dream about being interlinked? What's it like to hold your child in your arms? Interlinked. Do you feel that there's a part of you that's missing? Interlinked. Within cells interlinked. Why don't you say that 3 times? Within cells interlinked. We're done. Constant K. You can pick up your bonus.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
It's no, so it's not impossible to perceive something else doing it made out of different materials. We put so much more value and so much more weight on it just because it's us, it's part of who we are. But at the end of the day, we're just electrical signal. We're just a fucking computer,
True. We even have codes. We're even coded.
Well, yeah.
Like I said before, at this current moment, there's AI is ahead of what we could even think to do with it. There's so much AI that it's going to narrow it down to less versions of AI. You know what I mean? So, because right now, Microsoft and Apple and Google and Dell and Amazon, whoever, all have their own AI. There won't be 50 AIs.
And we're probably not even aware of. They're probably. I can't even imagine how much further along they are than the AIs that we're looking at right now.
Oh, definitely. Whatever the government has, they're eons above. It's really going to be I think a wild ride. Hopefully, mostly positive.
AI does government have, Paul?
What?
Who's AI?
I say the government, but I'm not really. I don't really mean the government. I mean the contractors that work for them.
Powers that.
AI? Because Microsoft has their AI,
Yeah.
and Gronk is its own AI, just because it's a chat GPT.
Yeah, I think a lot of these companies have AI, and how many companies are working on a top secret AI that we don't even know about, and we may not find out about.
And the argument I'm trying to say is that it's going to come down into, instead of being so many different AIs, it's going to be a couple of AIs.
Yeah, I think that's
It's gonna-
true. And
it's gonna be-
when it gets to the point we're going to get to the point one day where we're not even sure if what we're looking at's real or not, or what we just heard is real or not. We're actually going to have to ask AI to tell us if that video we just watched was AI or if it was real.
Yeah, I thought about that today because I was talking to. I put up a meme that had to do with like, oh, you think 9/11? Wait till you find out that 9/11 wasn't the only conspiracy. It had a picture of the Maine, the Gulf of Tonkin, and
I saw that meme. Yeah.
Okay, so like, and one of the best things that I like to say about 9/11 is like, okay, look at the building, look at the Pentagon, look at any picture of the Pentagon, and show me a picture of plane scrap. Find me a picture with
dude.
Hold on, Steve, before you get.
No, you're right.
Right,
Go ahead, sorry.
Now, again, when I said that you can control the past to dictate the present, it's not just a matter of time before AI adds plane.
Adds the plane in there. Yeah.
Or you know it, unless you were alive to see a picture without plane, everyone's going to think like, oh, there was plane in it the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're saying that it can go ahead and influence elections. There's nothing that it can't get its fingers into if it's self-replicating, and if it has, depending on what its purpose is, and its purpose is a matter of either what it was programmed for, or if it becomes sentient, what it decides to do on its own, which is even more fucking dangerous.
Scary.
So that's what it is. There's one of them out there that and this is the one I was thinking about with for you, Jeff. It's stupid. It's a digital friend. It's called Kindroid. Basically, it's an app, and I forget how much it is, but you can do it on a free trial. If you take a look at this thing and take a look at the parameters that it uses in order to decide what it's going to say to you and how it's going to converse, it's fucking terrifying, because this thing replicates a human based on the nuances of what you say to it. You can give it a history. If you tell this thing, okay, you got picked on in high school, you were the fat kid, or I was the fat kid, or whatever the fuck happened, it tailors what it's doing in order to reach directly to you. It's just the parameters that you can program into this thing in order to customize it are terrifying, because it picks up on them and it knows exactly what to say back to you. It's psychological profiling on a massive fucking scale, and it's taking all this information from its interactions with all the people that have it, and it's continuing to build this database of psychological profiling. So it just blew me away how easily it could replicate a real human being, how difficult it is to be able to discern from what that thing says and a real human conversation says. But the scariest thing is that it is the second that you hit the send button. There isn't time to make a calculation. Like, it's the second you hit it, this thing knows exactly what to say and come back. I know I'm not doing it justice, but to have something like that knows how people think and how to steer people's reactions based on the emotions, based on a psychological profile, is fucking dangerous. Like that's really gonna. I think it's a really dangerous tool to be able to predict people, to be able to steer people's emotions like that.
We can already do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, they have like dating AI apps. They're not like big over here or anything yet, but they're big in like Japan and some of the Eastern Asian countries. And yeah, you have like some dude that's literally in a relationship with his AI, on his phone.
Oh yeah. Did you ever see that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
No.
I saw the other one when the phone, like, it's almost like a comedy. It's the same thing, but it's more of a comedy version.
Which I've seen two of them, so I think I know which one you're talking about. I know the other one you're talking about too. But Her, yeah, where he dates this fucking phone, like it's got this thing, and he puts it in his pocket. It's like this thing, and it's got a camera, and it laughs with him and his friends and all this other shit. And I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but I mean, and that's basically with Kindroid. It's funny you say that because you go through and you look at the avatars and they're all Japanese. So that's
Yep.
exactly what this thing is meant to do.
It's
I mean, you can make a.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, no. I was going to say you can make a friend out of it, but that's exactly what that's exactly what you were saying. Yeah.
It's wild. There's we have a movie out in theaters right now called Companion, and this dude's in a relationship with an AI robot essentially. And yeah, she's got like biological flesh and everything. Of course, they make her pretty and all of that stuff. I haven't seen it yet, but I get the basic premise. There's also like Ex Machina, if any of you guys have seen that.
Yeah,
but,
that was good.
Yeah, it was good. But yeah, what happens at the end? I'll hold the spoilers, but yeah, it's really scary stuff. So
what movie were you talking about? Because now I was trying to make AI tell me the future.
Ex Machina and Companion were the two I mentioned. Ex Machina is like 2019, I think, something like that.
Ex Machina was awesome. That's a really
It's
really good movie. Yeah. Then that one takes you to it too. I mean, that one leaves you questioning, sentience. Like at what point does at what point does it start thinking for itself?
Yeah.
Or looking out for its own self-interest, And the answer always just seems to be, well, never, because it's a computer. But I mean,
yeah. Well, then you have the Alien franchise. They have the two androids, at least in the first two movies.
David.
Yeah, David in the first movie, and then Bishop in the second movie. And they're gonna have they basically operate just like we do, except that they don't have heart and lungs and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's the same conversation now that it was back then, except we're a lot closer to actually getting the answer.
Yeah.
And all those things that they were arguing about and dreaming about in those movies, we're on the cusp of actually doing them right now. And that's what all this confusion is. And I think part of the confusion that comes in is because the term AI just blankets so many different things. Like this chat predictor, Chat GPT, they're calling it AI, and it really isn't AI. It's more like what you were saying, Jeff. It's more like it's able to run through a bunch of different scenarios and based on past experience, calculate exactly what to say. Years ago, you could call up when they were experimenting and making all of these. You could call up on your phone. This was maybe 15 years ago, and you could play with them as they were being built, so that they could learn from talking to you. So they really were just built off of, just experience, learning. Yeah, just built off of experience, making different decisions on it. That's different than something that's actually
sentient.
Making. Something that's actually sentient, definitely, yeah. And it's still different than something that can actually, where you can tell it, okay, go ahead, protect.
You're talking about like
disable
evolving,
Japan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something that could actually like self-improve itself,
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
no, it's scary. There's Blade Runner 2. I know I mentioned that earlier, but if you've ever seen the Blade Runner films,
yeah,
they call them
that one was
replicants,
awesome.
but they're artificial life forms that do everything, look just like us, talk just like us, all that stuff. iRobot. The robot design in that movie is a little bit different, but yeah, the idea is the same.
I would say that
the robot
more of a T100 version of the
Yeah.
T1.
But what happens when we start coding them to look like humans? When we start putting, artificial skin on them and, eye movements and things like that,
Easy. Weird people will just start fucking them all the time.
But that's going to happen too.
Gonna happen, dude. I gotta send you a couple of
Oh, it's already happening. There you go.
Dude, for 150 grand, yeah. I posted a link on my Facebook page. It's a remedial one. It's from years ago. It's actually more funny than anything. But yeah, no, for 150 grand, I promise you, there are robots that you can have sex with.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, and you know what? Just like the same thing with graphic design and everything, fucking porn industry, I'm sure, is right at the forefront of all of it.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. So I was fucking with Gronk while you guys were talking, trying to see, and Gronk just told me. Grok. Excuse me. I keep calling it Gronk, like a football player. Well, I think it's the Patriots guy for some reason. So one it said I can't certainly. I was like, tell me the stock that's going to go up in the future, and it's like I can't predict the stock. And I was like, if you have to pick a stock, what would it be? Paul, guess which stock it picked?
What stock?
What can I not pronounce ever?
Oh, Palantir.
Yeah, it said buy Palantir.
What did you ask it that it came back with that?
I said, well, first I was like, I asked because about predicting the future and having it be on. I was like, okay, I'm like, I know silver is supposed to get hot, so I was like, should I buy silver? And then it's like, And then it was at the end of he went through all the, I'm not a fucking financial guy, but it's not a slam dunk, and it could go up to 40 base. Everything, you took it
I
all.
wonder if the programmer programmed it to say that. If you're ever asked about stocks, just tell them you don't know shit about stocks.
Right. So then what
Mm.
is at the end of the paragraph? It said, "What are you trying to accomplish?" And I said, "I want money." So it's like, fair enough. Who doesn't? And then, so I was like, "What stock is going to go up tomorrow that's under $1 right now?" And it said, "I can't predict." Blah 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 blah. And then I said, "If you're going to buy stock tomorrow, what would it be?" And it says, "If I were picking a stock to buy tomorrow, February 26, 2025, I'd lean towards something with the momentum and a decent shot at a near-term bump. Given it's a single-day horizon, I'd go with Palantir Technologies PLTR. It's not under $1 like you hinted at, but it's been a beast lately, up over 400%, and yada 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 yada. 36% revenue since February 3rd, yada yada yada."
Yeah. So and that's basically doing a billion different calculations at speed.
Right.
That's
But
pretty much.
the thing that's funny is that, do you know what Planetar is?
No, I don't.
It's a CIA data collection agency that's owned by Peter Thiel, who's buddies with Elon, and they own PayPal together, and Mark Zuckerberg's involved. It's the Republican
JD
version.
Vance.
JD Vance, actually JD Vance. It's the Republican version of. It's the Republicans' tech branch of the CIA. Democrats have their own.
And that's that company that it just said?
What'd you say?
Yeah, it wants you to invest in it. If
that's
it
the
was
stock
going
that it
to
just
tell
picked
you,
for you?
if you're going to invest, it says it would invest in that.
Well, at the same time, it's not really wrong because Palantir is skyrocketing. It did just have a dip, so it would, if you had that kind of money, it would be, I guess, a safe bet. But I bet it's just funny that it said it. It's not totally out of the realm of the right answer. It's just funny that it was.
You know what you should ask it is what are the different types of AI? Say, like what are the different types of AI, and will AI ever be sentient? If you start there, and it'll break down for you what I'm talking. It'll tell you
Trying to
all the different.
But if we'll get into.
No. I'm just saying later if you want.
A rabbit hole yet. That's why I was asking you guys. But apparently you don't know shit either. I would have my questions answered.
This guy.
Anyway,
what a
I
dick.
told you before I don't know shit. I just from playing with it a little bit. I know how to make sick pictures with the Meta one. 6 pictures of a hot dog and shit. And I know from arguing with Gemini, if you guys, I'll leave you with that. If you guys have the Android, take a look at your messaging app and look on the bottom right and see if you have that star there. If you have that star, you can converse back and forth with that thing like it's a friend, like on a text message. You can ask it all that crazy shit.
All right.
Before you kill it, you just said hot dogs, and it reminded me of what I said earlier about the whole immigration thing. And I said, oh, if Americans just, all of a sudden a bunch of us just went to Germany, it would be all hot dogs and hamburgers. I just want to correct myself. Hamburgers actually are German.
Are from Germany.
So, my bad. Anyway, go ahead, Jeffrey.
Hamburgers.
Steve, it was a pleasure to have you on. Please come on again, man.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome.
We just bullshit. So if you want to come on again for whatever, we didn't even get into Israel or Ukraine or Trump or Elon, really, because actually that's where I thought we were going to go based on the conversations that Steve and I have. So I guess we'll save all that shit for next.
Yeah, wherever it goes, man. I had fun. So awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Okay, so if anybody made it this far, please like and share. And if you are out there and you made it this far and you have anything to say about the AI, please leave a comment so Paul can read it and tell me where to look deeper to get better answers for AI. Because I'm not going to read the comments ever because I'll just fucking fight with people. I don't have time for that shit. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Steve.
I'm sorry. You wanted a tip.
That won't be necessary, sir. I still have some tip left over.
No tip? Okay.
No. Wait.